You're watching the 420 Pace, found at 420pace.ca. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after this toke. You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Oh yeah, baby, that's lovely.
Good morning and welcome to Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News for May the 25th. Good morning, Rev Cindy. How you doing? And welcome back.
Good morning, Al. I'm doing pretty well. Thank you so much.
Now, before we get into the news, how in one or two words, how was your time away?
Hot. Straight up, Hawaii's hot. I go from Nova Scotia, which we were lucky to have 10, 12 degrees here. And we're still like, I mean, when I came home, it was 5 degrees. And I went from that to 30 plus degrees and humidity every day. And so it was hard. I will say though that, like if I compare that to July here in Nova Scotia, the Atlantic coast does offer much more humidity. Like the heat of 30 degrees here in Nova Scotia is way different than the heat of 30 degrees in Hawaii. But going from, colder temperatures here, it was hot. It was hot. It was muggy. It took me a week to get used to it. But, in amongst getting used to it, I had some fun visiting some spots, and seeing some different things. I'd say the highlight was swimming with turtles.
Swimming with turtles. And what was the most favorite thing you like to do every day?
Every day? It was, like, sitting in the AC in my room straight up, because it was hot. It was definitely interesting. When I got down there, I use cannabis for pain and anxiety. And so when I got down there, CBD is 100% legal down there as long as it comes from hemp. It's sold in, health food stores and pharmaceutical sections. And I went to a really cool health food store. And I had a wonderful chat with the lady that was working there. We talked about all the different products that were on the shelf. She was extremely knowledgeable when it came to like the different cannabinoids. I ended up picking up some CBD gummies, 2 different kinds. One had extra CBG with them for the daytime to help with pain, and the other one was CBD plus CBN. And like that, these cannabinoids work and they work well together. Both were full spectrum products. I eventually, a couple of days later, again, hemp is perfectly legal there. So of course, we now know how to grow hemp and, grow it with THCA, high levels of THCA. So that was being sold legally at different cannabis shacks, like literally like just little trailer shacks. Yeah, and they were all over the place, and like they were done up with neon lights, and like nobody bothered with it. So I was able to go down and get some hemp derived THCA flower. And I smoked that while I was there, and I gotta say it was pretty damn good. Everything I got burned clean. It worked well. The high is a little bit different than the cannabis-derived THC. So THCA is just a little bit different than THC, but it was really, that side of it was really kind of neat. I was on a resort, and And for the most part, you couldn't tell that anybody was using it. Like when I was sitting on my deck in my room, you could smell it wafting from other people on their decks. But nobody used it down below in the resort. But as you were getting close to the edge of the resort, especially after dark, that's all you could smell. It was like being in Amsterdam, straight up. Like, I mean, everybody was smoking it in different places, and so it was very accepted down there. And it was a lot of fun. Like everybody that I talked to in the cannabis field was very knowledgeable, very kind, and it was a good experience. Because I know that we're a cannabis network, and some people might be curious about that.
That's right, exactly. Don't give them an update what's going on, first-hand experience, just in case anybody is considering going to Hawaii, right? Yeah.
Well, I would say there is a CBD by Vim and Vigor in the big Ala Moana mall, which is a huge outdoor 3.5 level mall. That's just for the shops. And then there's another level with restaurants, like fancier restaurants besides the food court. And it was a great place. Like I said, the lady that was there was extremely knowledgeable. They had a section where they had Amanita muscaria products set up, from an Amanita vape to gummies to tinctures. So this health food store really did have everything legal that they could get, from supplements that we're used to, say from like a store that we would see up here, to all the CBD products and Amanita products and anything else that they could use, and super knowledgeable. And then the little cannabis huts were all over the place. There were three different companies that I found, and I did end up going to all three of them at different times just to chat with them. And again, very knowledgeable people. They knew their stuff.
Yeah.
And the best way, like if you go down to Hawaii and you go to one of these huts, ask them what they're smoking. Say, I want to buy what you smoke, and you'll end up with good product.
Good stuff. Good tip. That's a good tip. All right. We have got 8 news stories for today. And you're up with the first one.
Yeah, the first one is coming to us from CBC. And the article is Quebec raises legal cannabis age to 21. And the new age limit for Quebec cannabis won't stop use, says some 20-year-olds. So Quebec became the first province in Canada to raise the legal age for cannabis from 18 to 21, and intermediately ignited debate over public health, personal freedom, and whether stricter rules actually protect young people. The law, introduced by Premier Francois Legault's coalition, the Avenir Quebec government, officially took effect on January 1st of 2020. Government officials argued the change was necessary because 2020, this is an old one that has popped up. It was my apologies. I'm jumping all over the place. January 1st, 2020. Government officials argued the change was necessary because cannabis can affect brain development in young adults. Quebec Junior Health Minister Lionel Carmont defended the move by saying the government wanted to protect young people from the harmful effects of cannabis. Under the law, adults aged 18 to 20 who can legally vote, join the military, sign contracts, and buy booze in Quebec were suddenly prohibited from legally purchasing cannabis. Critics argued the contradiction made little sense, especially given those same age groups statistically represented some of the highest cannabis consumers in the province. Opponents also warned the policy could backfire by driving young adults back towards the illicit market instead of regulated legal stores. Civil liberties advocates and cannabis reform groups argued that the legislation was supposed to reduce criminalization and improve safety, not recreate prohibition barriers for a specific age group. Quebec already had some of the strictest cannabis laws in cannabis. Including bans on home cultivation, tighter restriction on edibles and public consumption, which is funny because if you go to Montreal, the only thing you can smell is cannabis anywhere. Raising the age to 21 further separated the province from much of the country, where the legal age remains at either 18 or 19. And the debate surrounding the law still resonates today. because underneath the policy arguments sits a larger question that continues to follow cannabis legalization across Canada. At what point does protecting young people become restricting adults? And does pushing consumers away from the legal market actually make anyone safer? What do you think, Al?
No, it doesn't make them any safer. And being of legal age at 20, and then all of a sudden you're being told that you're now breaking the law for something that you were legally able to do. And people aren't going to stop. They're already smoking cannabis while they were legal at that one point. They're not going to stop and wait until they're 21.
No. And Quebec is
according to the article too, they mentioned that the government never even promoted the fact that they upped the age. There wasn't a lot of promotion about it whatsoever.
No. And it's, like in my travels across Canada, Quebec has one of the best, and I mean the best, Indigenous cannabis industries. Like, I mean, some of the Indigenous dispensaries when I was traveling through Quebec were just like flipping beautiful and amazing, and had knowledgeable people. All the, like the variety of products was, immense, right? Like anything that they could find in Canada, like they were there, and it was there, and they were selling, and really great people. So they have options.
Yeah, there's options.
So whether they buy illicit from the streets or go to the Indigenous stores, there's options. So I agree. Allowing them to smoke at 18, somebody turns 19, all of a sudden they're not allowed to smoke anymore, and they've been doing it legally for a year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right, time for us to move on to the next story. This one is coming to us from City News. Headline there says Edmonton Cafe hopes lawmakers loosen rules in selling cannabis on site. A typical cafe sells coffee, pastries, and sandwiches, but one new Edmonton cafe on White Avenue is hoping that the government would allow it to sell cannabis and let its consumers consume it in store. Owner Todd Hark wants to bring the cannabis-friendly New Amsterdam Cafe from Vancouver to Edmonton. While the cafe is currently cannabis-friendly by provincial law, consumers can't buy or use cannabis in the shop. Now, Hike wants that law to change so he can sell infused drinks and edibles to be consumed on site, seeing it as a budding industry. I completely agree with him. Now, when you walk down the street at nighttime and in a nightclub district, and that's all you smell, instead of having people doing it outside on the street, let's bring them inside to a supervised space with trained people and watching consumption and making sure everyone's okay, he says. But for his vision to be reality, both the province and the city would need to be on board. The Minister of Red Tape Reduction told City News, quite simple, cannabis consumption spaces such as cafes or lounges are prohibited, and at this time there are no plans to change this, noting that municipalities are able to create their own rules and restrictions on where cannabis can legally be consumed. Now, the councillor for the area is in favor of more relaxation of cannabis consumption laws, seeing the green economy as a good business move. He says, I think it's an innovative idea, says Councillor Michael Jans. The AGLC and the provincial government under the UCP said they were going to be more business friendly. They said they were going to reduce red tape. I don't know why they're still delaying this, he says. Cannabis has been legal for over 5 years with no incidents. Here. But city administration confirmed that no changes can be made to local laws until council goes through an engagement and consultation process, although changes are not expected in the near future. But he says he's optimistic it will happen one day. He says that we want to be able to offer people supervised space to consume a legal product with like-minded people and have a great time doing it. Exactly. Lounges should be allowed. I'm sure Cindy will agree.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the New Amsterdam Cafe originated in Vancouver. It started off as the Amsterdam Cafe under different ownership, was kind of disintegrated, and then came back as the New Amsterdam Cafe under new management. And up until about a year ago, they were selling infused drinks. They had some joints there, and they sold some gummies, maybe some tinctures. And they've been grandfathered in. They've been operating for such a long time that the city of Vancouver isn't bugging them. They did force them to stop selling, any product there. Still allowed to consume, but not allowed to sell anything. And I had high hopes for the one in Edmonton popping up to be a legal consumption site as well. But obviously they are going through some red tape. As you know, in Toronto, there is the Cafe Boardroom, where they allow consumption, and they hold some events. I mean, I was at a comedy night there the last time I was in Toronto with Naomi, actually, and it was amazing. Really great spaces. There's still Planet Paradise, although it's become more of a cannabis sports bar, from what I understand. It's but still, it allows, as far as I know, it still allows consumption. Out in Vancouver, there are still two spots, being the New Amsterdam and the Cannabis Culture Lounge. Although Cannabis Culture is now closed now, the store. So yeah, I think that these are necessary across the country. I know that in Alberta, they do allow consumption at events now, and they do allow some legal stores, one, I think, at per event is allowed to come in and sell product legally. So for them to allow a consumption site is this much of a stretch past what they're already doing. I can understand not allowing the sales there right now. Like, I get your baby steps, government. You need to do that. But this is a really, really tiny baby step to allow consumption in this particular cafe.
I just don't see what the legal reason behind not allowing, as he has suggested, edibles and beverages to be sold in lounges.
Yep.
Right now, the big concern is smoking.
Yep.
People aren't smoking if they're drinking cannabis beverages. They're still getting some cannabis.
And the way that the New Amsterdam did it in Vancouver was you could not get big, huge doses in these things. You could get, I think it was 5, 10, 2.5, 5, or 10 milligrams in your drink.
And that's what our limits are.
And they were doing that before legalization, right? So they're not bad limits. They're not getting people overly high. It's a small step. That way you can have 3 or 4 coffees or 3 or 4 drinks while you're there. And for somebody like me, that would be 30 or 40 milligrams at max. And that's really not that much. Right. And I understand, different laws and whatnot, and having to take the baby steps. But for Alberta, allowing the consumption at this particular site is such a small baby step from what they're already doing that they should.
And he's not even asking for smoking. He's asking for beverages and edibles.
To serve beverages and edibles, but to allow smoking to happen as well in the, but they're baby steps. So allow it, just, do it, watch it for 6 months and allow it. I mean, obviously we have a counselor, Michael Jans, who's all for it.
We did it. We did it for years before legalization. Yep. There was 10 of them, at least 10 at one time in Toronto alone.
Yep. And those are just the ones that advertised.
Yeah, this was back in 2012. Was when that was going on. So yeah. And there was no big problems with it then. It was even right in the report to Toronto City Council from the police that there wasn't a problem with going to these lounges. So.
No, I mean, the lounges operate it so beautifully.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Exactly. All right, we should be moving on. I see we're getting a little long in the tooth here.
Us? Never.
All right, you're up.
Okay, next story is coming to us from Marijuana Moment. Democratic lawmakers pushed Trump to release federal cannabis prisoners as a follow-up to rescheduling. As momentum grows around cannabis reform in the United States, some lawmakers are now asking a deeper question. If the government acknowledges cannabis has medical value, why are people still sitting in prison over it? According to Marijuana Moment, a group of my cat's yelling in the background. A group of Democratic lawmakers are urging President Donald Trump. Isn't that interesting that that's how they put it? President Donald Trump to support the release of federal cannabis prisoners following the federal government's move towards cannabis rescheduling. The push comes after recommendations to move cannabis from Schedule 1, the same category as heroin, to Schedule 3 under U.S. federal law. The change would represent a major symbolic shift, officially recognizing accepted medical use. But critics say rescheduling alone doesn't address the human cost of decades of prohibition. Lawmakers argue that if cannabis is no longer considered among the most dangerous substances in federal law, continuing to incarcerate people for non-violent cannabis offenses becomes increasingly difficult to justify. Advocates have long pointed to the contraindication at the center of modern cannabis policy. Billion-dollar cannabis corporations now operate legally in many states, while others remain behind bars for actions tied to the same plant. One supporter of reform described it bluntly: you cannot claim the system is changing while leaving people buried under the old system. The debate also highlights how cannabis reform in the U.S. is evolving beyond legalization itself. Increasingly, the conversation is turning towards expungements, resentencing, restorative justice, and whether governments are willing to repair harms caused during the drug war era that they caused. For many advocates, legalization without release is only half reform. Well, I kind of agree with the advocates there, Al.
Yeah. You legalize it, but yet you still got people in jail for it. Now, I was a little bit confused in the beginning when I had seen the headline, because I know that Joe Biden, he let federally people who were in jail for possession of cannabis, he let them go. But I see this is to go beyond that. This includes, they say that there's 3,000 people that are still federally incarcerated for cannabis trafficking offenses. And they want those people to be released.
Absolutely. And they should.
Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see what happens. But yet, cannabis, it's still Schedule 1. They haven't finished the process yet. So
yeah,
that may have to wait until after.
But I mean, it would be a great show of support for his own idea to then push forward the expungement for these people.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. This is just another stop, right? So.
Yeah.
All righty. Next story. This one's going to be coming to us from Marijuana Moment. And the headline on it says, federal judge dismisses anti-marijuana group's lawsuit challenging Medicare hemp coverage program. A federal judge has granted the government's motion to dismiss cannabis legalization opponents' lawsuit challenging a new Trump administration initiative to cover up to $500 worth of hemp-derived products each year for eligible Medicare patients. The program, being implemented by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, focuses largely on CBD, but also allows a certain amount of THC in products. It's not much, believe me. Now, Judge Trevor McFadden ruled on Friday that prohibitionist groups and activists led by SMART, which is Smart Approaches to Marijuana, as well as cannabis-focused biopharmaceutical corporation, MMJ International Holdings, as its subsidiaries, have not established standing to bring this case. At the outset, the court notes that it need not tackle the bulk of questions that plaintiffs raised in their questions, McFadden wrote. He goes on to say that this is because plaintiff's case suffers from a fatal flaw, the failure to establish Article 3 standing to bring their claims. The court addresses only this jurisdictional hole and will dismiss the entire suit and deny plaintiff's motion for a preliminary injunction as moot. Now, in April, lawyers for Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and CMS Director Melamed Oz filed a brief saying that the anti-cannabis organization that filed the suit against Medicare hemp coverage policy did not have standing to bring the case. The judge has now agreed to that. He says that no organization plaintiff shows enough for an injury. In fact, McFadden says, and he goes on to say that all claim that they diverted resources in response to the BEI's implementation, but none established that such resource diversion interfered with its core activities or prevented it from pursuing its true purpose. When it comes to the company MMJ and its subsidiaries, the judge said it is not a direct and current competitor with anyone selling hemp to Medicare beneficiaries. In short, MMJ has no product on the Medicare beneficiary market and no sense of when it may, he says. Beyond the advocacy organizations, the case involves individual plaintiffs, including anti-cannabis lawyer David Evans, who claims he had standing to challenge the new Substance Access Beneficiary Engagement Initiative as a Medicare recipient. But the federal agencies reject that argument. It says, if Evans' worst case scenario, his doctors recommends hemp to him, came true, Evans would lack a concrete harm, McFadden wrote. In sum, no matter the theory, plaintiffs have failed to establish an Article 3 injury from the BEI's implementation, the judge says, and the use and regulation of hemp are important matters, and plaintiffs understandably have strong views on these topics. But while they may not like the BEI, they have not been injured by it. The case will thus be dismissed for the lack of subject matter jurisdiction. SAN, for its part, says it is pushing back on the dismissal and says it will appeal the ruling, which I'm not surprised by, Cindy. I figured that they would appeal this ruling, and it's coming.
Yeah, it's going to be, the hemp cannabis fight is going to be a long one. Prohibition was, almost 100 years.
Correct.
So yeah, it 97, I believe it was, here in Canada. So yeah, it's going to be a hard fight. Even here in Canada, there are people that are still trying to pull it back.
Yes.
The Quebec story from the beginning is definitely a good example of one of those scenarios. They're trying to, they raise the age, and they also hold back being able to grow your own. Only recently allowed vapes, are very particular about their edibles. So they're trying to, the fear is still there. The reefer madness is still there. So it's going to be a long fight. We had 93 or 97 years of prohibition. So it's going to take us twice that.
Exactly.
Our great grandchildren are finally going to see calmness around it versus a fight around it.
I've been saying the same thing. Basically, pretty close to 100 years of prohibition, propaganda, so on and so forth. It's not going to disappear overnight.
No.
It's going to take years.
Stigma is still there big time. I see it in certain things. I know mothers of young kids, and they use cannabis, but they're nervous to use it outside. They're nervous to be seen with it by their mother peers, and it
right.
So the stigma is still there, and it's still there hardcore. But these same mother peers, or parent peers, I should say, have no issues with going out drinking.
No, of course not. It's legal. Alrighty. That's the same with the developing brain. How come they never talk about the developing brain for 19-year-olds that are drinking alcohol?
Right?
You never hear that, but you hear all about the cannabis, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Alrighty. It's time for you and I to take a break. And time for our listeners and viewers to find out who's helping us spread our voices louder. All right. Other than that, we'll see you in about 2 minutes and 50 seconds. You're watching Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Camelford Lifestyle Shop. Open Monday to Friday from 10 till 7 p.m. or by chance. Check out our flags, our t-shirts, plus our hats. And look of that supply of rolling papers, plus much more. We've got bongs and your favorite herbal vaporizers. Look at all the incense we have, as well as for those who collect knives, check out these knives in our collection. And while you're here, stop in to see Shay at the piercing room, where you can get poked by Shay. Daily deals, check them out. Camelford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Camelford, Ontario.
What do you find at paceradio.net? People advocating cannabis education.
That way. I'm having an awesome day, and I'm gonna make sure it stays that way.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420. Rerolled Saturdays. Check it out. Nothing but non-stop cannabis and psychedelic programming. Find it at 420pace.ca.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Hey, watching Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News. We're back with 4 more stories, including one that the headline sounds really interesting. And it's, when was cannabis first domesticated? So I'm looking forward to hearing what you're going to have to say about that one, Cindy.
Me too. But it is before we get there. Yes.
Before we get there, we have other stories to cover.
We do. Next up is coming to us from Medical Express. Psilocybin relieves nerve pain for weeks and boosts brain adaptability, which is just really kind of cool to know. A new study is expanding the potential medical applications of psilocybin beyond mental health. And I've been saying that it helps for pain for years now, and into the world of chronic pain treatment. According to Medical Express, researchers found that a single dose of psilocybin appeared to reduce nerve pain symptoms for weeks, while also increasing neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize and form new connections. Neuropathic pain, often caused by nerve damage, can be notoriously difficult to treat. Conventional medications frequently provide only limited relief and can come with serious side effects. dependency concerns or diminishing effectiveness over time. But researchers say psilocybin may work differently. And my real world experience definitely supports what they are saying. Instead of simply dulling pain signals, the psychedelic compound appears to influence broader neurological symptoms involved in pain perception, emotional processing, and brain adaptability. Ooh, for some reason, that's a hard word for me today. Scientists involved in the study observed changes suggesting that psilocybin may help rewire how the nervous system processes chronic pain. Importantly, the benefits appear to outlast the acute psychedelic experience itself, a finding that continues to intrigue researchers across multiple psychedelic studies. The research is still early, and scientists caution that much larger human clinical trials are needed before psilocybin could become an approved pain treatment. My real world experience suggests that it helps inflammation. It can help to stop a migraine in its tracks. And my chronic pain on days that I microdose goes way, way, way down. And still, the article says the findings contribute to a rapidly growing scientific narrative. Psychedelics may have therapeutic potential far beyond what researchers imagined even a decade ago. From depression and PTSD to chronic pain and neurological recovery, the boundaries of psychedelic medicines continue to expand. And Al, it's just super exciting.
It is. It is. It's almost seems every week we've got something that's coming up. And psilocybin helping with the pain end of things. How many lives could be saved because of people aren't getting addicted to opioids?
Oh yeah, tons. Like, I mean, hundreds and thousands. And
whether they're as effective as an opioid, like, would you want to take psilocybin for surgery? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like like there are arguments for all of it. Like, I mean, we have plants that will help with surgical pain. We've just refined them into things that aren't good, such as the coca leaf has become cocaine with all the chemicals in it.
Yeah.
The coca leaf itself, I mean, yeah, it can do wonders to help with that surgical pain, especially if you're applying it on site. Yeah, so like it really depends, and each person is going to be different as well.
Okay. Oh yeah.
So there's no shame in using these medical these modern medical medicines under the care of a doctor. But when you leave the hospital, going back to natural medicines is the key. So even if addiction is starting to set in, you fight that, and you don't take it home. So therefore,
psilocybin, if you started to get addicted to the opioids while you're in the hospital, when you got out, the psilocybin can help with that as well.
Yeah, as with cannabis, those two substances are beautiful for helping fight withdrawal and addiction, and together they can help a person, especially at that beginning stage, release themselves from it and not have to stick with it, because as the article said, like, opioids and these modern day pain-killing pills, they lose their effectiveness, and that's why people jump through things. So you start off with taking a hydromorphone, you have to move to an Oxycontin or gabapentin. That doesn't become good enough, and you have to start taking more of it, and the doctor cuts you off, and then you go to the streets. And I mean, it's a story that I've dozens of times, and knowing that these natural medicines are out there that are anti-addictive is just beautiful.
So glad I chose cannabis when I had the choice.
Yeah,
that's for sure. All right, time us to move on to the next story. And this one here, it is coming to us from the International Cannabis Business Conference. Headline says Deputy Minister, South Africa is committed to supporting cannabis industry growth. Article says that South Africa is continuing its push to advance its emerging domestic legal cannabis industry, as evidenced by a recent visit by Deputy Minister in the presidency, Kenny Morolong, to a licensed medical cannabis producer and exporter. Deputy Minister Morolong praised Karoo Biosciences cannabis operations, highlighting its potential to boost rural economies, create jobs and positions in South Africa as a global player in medicinal cannabis, reports the local coverage. Now, he's emphasized that the government's commitment to supporting innovation and sustained growth in the sector. Plus, he says that South Africa must seize the opportunity to become a leader in medicinal cannabis, ensuring that our products meet international standards and open doors to export markets. In addition to having legalized cannabis for medical use, South Africa is on the short list of countries that have adopted national cannabis adult use legalization measures. Now, South Africa officially approved the national adult use legalization measures back in 2024, placing it on the list of legalized nations alongside Uruguay, Canada, Malta, Luxembourg, and Germany at the time. Now, since then, Czechia has since adopted a national adult use legalized measure. In March of 2026, South Africa's Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development published a draft regulatory proposal that would officially set the limits for adult use cannabis cultivation and possession limits. The proposed regulations would involve the following: setting a cannabis cultivation limit at 5 cannabis plants at a private residence at any time, regardless of the plant size or strain. 2, setting a cannabis possession limit for adults of 750 grams of cannabis per day for private use, whether in a private or public place. And number 3, allowing adults to transport no more than 750 grams of cannabis per day, including cannabis still attached to the plant. Cindy, 750 grams of cannabis in the public? We're allowed 30.
Unless you're a medical patient. If you're a medical patient, you can carry your your prescription up to 180. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the 150 for your prescription, 30 for your recreational for 180. But they're allowing 750.
Yeah, for recreational, for their
That's
adult
like a pound
use.
and a half.
5 cannabis plants at a private residence,
Yeah. We're at 4.
which is pretty close. Yeah.
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 The
And I mean, mind you, straight up, like, why do I need 750 grams of cannabis per day?
I
mean,
don't.
I'm really happy at the big numbers. That's basically saying, carry whatever the frig you want.
Yeah.
But like, that's a lot of cannabis
That's
for
almost like almost quite, not quite, but an idea of an unlimited.
Yeah.
Yeah,
interesting.
for sure. But that could allow, I don't know. They didn't mention anything about being able to grow your cannabis somewhere else. To say you lived in a condominium, you don't have a spot to grow your cannabis, so you grew it at another residence of somebody else who didn't consume cannabis, so they wouldn't be growing any. So you grew your cannabis on that person's property, and then you got to transport it home.
You got to take it home. So now you can take it home at 750 grams per time,
Right.
which
That's a benefit that way. If and that wouldn't even have to be in the laws, because of the fact, as far as they were concerned, the person who is growing it is the person who owns it, but it may not.
Yeah.
All righty. From that,
All right.
time to us to move on to the next story.
Okay. Well, the next story is coming to us from the International Cannabis Business Conference. This is the story that Al mentioned earlier. When was cannabis first domesticated by us humans? Fascinating new look into ancient history is helping answer one of humanity's oldest cannabis questions. When did humans first begin cultivating the plant intentionally? According to the International Cannabis Business Conference, researchers studying ancient plant genetics and archaeological evidence now believe cannabis may have first been domesticated by humans roughly 12,000 years ago, likely in East Asia during the early days of agriculture. That timeline places cannabis among some of humanity's earliest cultivated plants, alongside crops that helped shape the rise of civilization itself. Scientists say early humans likely valued cannabis not for intoxication at first, but for its extraordinary versatility. The plant could provide durable fiber for rope and textiles, nutritious seeds for food, medical compounds, and eventually psychoactive properties as selective breeding evolved. Researchers examining ancient pollen samples and genetic markers believe wild cannabis was gradually transformed by human cultivation into the distinct varieties we recognize today. One of the most interesting findings is that ancient cannabis likely contained far lower THC levels than many modern strains. In other words, early domestication was probably driven more by practical survival uses than recreational intoxication. The story also puts modern cannabis debates into perspective. For most of human history, cannabis was not treated as a criminal substance. It was simply another deeply useful plant, woven into medicine, agriculture, trade, ritual, and daily life across multiple civilizations. In many ways, the modern era of prohibition may end up being the only brief chapter in a much larger human relationship, a relationship stretching back not decades, but millennia. I think that's pretty cool, Al.
It is, and it's right. Cannabis is on out of its whole all these years of existence. It's only been illegal for that 90 to 100 year period.
Yeah,
and that's it. Otherwise, it's always been legal.
Always been accepted, never criminalized, never legalized. It's just been a plant like a dandelion or an aloe, that has medical benefits, or medicinal mushrooms such as shiitake or maitake or chaga. It just been something else that's come from the earth that's been helpful.
And now you mentioned that it wasn't used for recreational purposes like it is these days, because it mentions here in the article that along with rice, soy, barley, and millet, cannabis is considered one of the 5 main grains by ancient people. The seeds found in the cannabis are rich in proteins and essential unsaturated fatty acids. And they said they used it for making soap as well.
Yeah.
To bathe in your cannabis. And, it's got antibacterial properties as well. So that's, that would help with the soap. So
interesting.
There you go. Yes. Alrighty, we got one more story to go. Anything else you want to mention on that?
No, I think I'm good.
All right. Okay. We'll move on to the next story. And this one is coming to us from Mugglehead Magazine. Headline there says Department of Justice demands $8.3 million from TerraSend in legal tax dispute. The U.S. Government of Justice recently sued cannabis company TerraSend Corp., demanding it return a $8.3 million tax refund plus interest. This marks the first known case where the government seeks to claw back a refund tied to the old 280E tax rule. Now, Section 280E prevents cannabis businesses that sell a Schedule 1 or Schedule 2 controlled substance from deducting normal business expenses on their federal taxes. For years, this rule forced operators to pay much higher effective tax rates than other companies. Now, TerraSend originally filed its 2020 taxes without claiming these deductions as required. But in April 2024, the company filed an amended return claiming $64.2 million in deductions and received the $8.3 million refund in June of 2024. The DOJ says TerraSend was never entitled to those deductions because cannabis remained a prohibited substance under federal law in 2020. The government argues the refund was erroneous and that the company was not returned the money voluntarily. This lawsuit comes after federal rescheduling of medical cannabis to Schedule 3 in April. which ended the 280E burden going forward, but left questions about past taxes. In simple terms, TerraSend bet that rescheduling would let it claim old deductions and get money back. The IRS issued the refund quickly, but now the DOJ wants it repaid. This case may signal how the government handles similar situations across the industry, where public companies hold about $1.6 billion in uncertain 280E related tax purposes. Wow, that's a lot of money that's sitting there, Cindy, that they're trying to decide how they're going to tax them.
Yeah.
As well as what's owing.
Yeah, and interest.
Yeah, and interest, exactly. And that won't be cheap.
No, it's definitely, I don't know what to think. I don't know. Yeah, straight up, to be honest.
Well, basically, it sounds like what they've done is they've claimed expenses from 2020, the 2020 year on this new updated thing. And the government said, no, you can't do that. And in 2020, the Schedule 1, it was still placed in Schedule 1 concretely. And I can see why the court said, no, you have to give that money back. You've made illegal claims. I can see that.
Yep, and the government likes to get their interest on that. Probably won't be a cheap interest.
No, that's right. Yeah, that's right. As as some of our past guests on the network has said, even though you may have an illegal business like a compassion center, the government still wants their tax money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's for sure. All right. Other than that, anything else before we sign us off?
I don't think so.
All right. Other than just let everybody know that any of these stories, if you want any further information on them, you can find them on our Facebook page. The full articles are there for everybody to go through. But other than that, thanks for tuning in to the broadcast, and thanks to our sponsors, Limestone City Hydroponics.ca, the Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, as well as at ease.ca. And we will see you on Thursday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. And as I always say, don't forget to educate, medicate, and do not incarcerate.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.
You're watching the 420 Pace, found at 420pace.ca. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after this toke.
Tune in Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on 420radio.ca.
Tiny door on the stairs, slip inside its summer air. In the coldest part of this old house, humming in the half-light, tuned out. Tent glow, purple and white. Leaves dance slow in the man-made sky. Fans whisper like they're telling me, keep it moving, keep it easy. In my basement garden, growing my time. Little green secret under this light. Whole world upstairs keeps spinning its noise. Down here it's soil, silence and joy. Oh, in my basement garden, I'm feeling alright. Hey, composter in the back, slow burn gold. Last year's leaves turning back too long. Old roots, new shoots, same old song. Turn it, learn it, pass it on. Rose impressed, parked by the sea. Glass jars lined where the wall paint chips. Sticky dreams in a steel vice grip. Radio plays that outlaw mix. Hey, in my basement garden, growing my time. Little green secrets under this light. Whole world upstairs keeps spinning its noise. Down here it's soil and silence and joy. In my basement garden, I'm feeling alright. Supplies on the shelf like a tiny store. Filters, bags, and a busted old torch. Hand smells strong, heart feels clean. Only place I let myself breathe. In my basement garden, growing my time. Little green secrets under this light. Whole world upstairs keeps spinning its noise. Down here it's soil and silence and joy. In my basement garden, I'm feeling alright. So right, so right, so
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Good day and welcome to the Mushy Moment for Tuesday, May 26th, 2026.
Wow.
Hang on, I'm going for it. Ready? Ready? Look. I had to go with the circle so people could see the mushroom in between. Come on, that's cute. Okay. Oh, wait. Pick the one we had because I don't know. There it is. How you doing?
I'm just sharing this to a couple of different rooms. Done. I just had to share it to microdosing and the mushy moment just to get it out until we get a page going where we can actually broadcast directly to.
Yeah, last week I forgot to send out the Sweet Pea and Mayhem podcast till afterwards. It was like, oh, they're watching it delayed, which means if anybody comments, I'm missing them. But, how you doing today? What's your weather like? We've got not beautiful sun with some great rain.
We have sun with a little bit of cloud cover, and well, I just got back from Hawaii, so even though it's like 12 degrees, it's cold.
Braggart. Oh, was that out loud? So how was Hawaii?
Hot. Yeah, it was hot. It was very, very hot. But you know, like we saw a bunch of
that's why people go to Hawaii, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they get what they pay for. Yeah. So, but I mean, there's a lot of history there too. I mean, like, you know, I did a couple of things with my family. Like I went to a beautiful Japanese Buddhist temple, which I love the irony of the fact that I went to a Japanese Buddhist temple the day after I went to visit Pearl Harbor, where Japan invaded.
Yeah.
I also went to this place called the Koala Ranch, where many movies have been filmed. Their most famous one, the one that they're mostly well known for, is Jurassic Park. Bits and pieces of Jurassic Parks all of them have been filmed there, as well as a lot of people know the movie 50 First Dates, as well as dozens and dozens and dozens of others. So I had a tour there. And I got a chance to swim with turtles and fish in the Pacific Ocean. That was pretty cool.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was. And the Pacific Ocean, completely different than the Atlantic Ocean, especially where we were. It was like getting into bath water. Like, I mean, the Atlantic Ocean, even at its warmest, it's cold, just fucking cold.
Yeah, I put my foot in. No, I didn't do a jumping in, but I put my foot in when I was out there.
And it was cold.
It was, yeah.
Cold. Yep. Yep, that is the Atlantic Ocean. But before you were out here, I was out there visiting in Vancouver. And you know, I'm always running around with you and meeting new people, and it's always a lot of fun. So this last time that I was out there, you said to me, "Oh, I've got to go, you know, go see my friend Todd and chat with him for a second." And I'm like, "Okay." So off we go, and you get out to go, you know, have your chat with Todd, and then you bring him over and introduce him to me. And, you know, I'm like, "Hey, Todd, and what do you do?" And he started talking, and I just sat there and went, you've got to come on the podcast. And I could tell by the looks on both of your faces that neither of you had ever thought that of bringing him on.
I can honestly say I hadn't thought of it. You know, I just have amazing chats whenever we're chatting. And I sat there when you said that, and I was just like, why the fuck didn't I ever think of that? Which kind of blew my mind, but you know.
Yeah. Yeah. So the gentleman's name is Todd Ritchie. He is our guest today. He is the founder and owner of a company called Transformed. And just let me bring up this little ticker here. And so this is how you spell it, TRNSFRMD. This is his website, so you can go check it out. I'll bring this back up later. I just wanted to make sure y'all understood the spelling of that. I thought it was kind of neat. And I'm going to let him tell you about him. He's a pretty interesting guy with a lot of knowledge.
That he is. Yeah. I just love when we're chatting, so I'm really looking forward to this one.
Yes,
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the podcast the one, the only, Mr. Todd Ritchie.
Hey guys.
Welcome.
How are you doing?
Safe space. I'm doing great. Thank you for inviting me on the show. I'm really excited about it.
Us too. You know, when
the poster.
Yeah.
Gotta say
behind you. It's great.
Yeah, I hope people don't misinterpret that. It's just I'm staying at my daughter's right now, and this was the wall that we decided to use. And I don't know if the horns are symbolic. I hope they're not. It's just a cow. It's a bull.
It's a cow. Yeah.
It's a horn bull.
Oh, so that's an incredible look you have there.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Did you get the pun?
I did. And I was thinking of a follow-up pun, but I thought it might be inappropriate for the podcast. So
well, we'll save that for afterwards.
That's right.
I'm going to let Cindy do this part right here because I'm going to love how she's going to set this up.
Me too.
Oh no, the pressure's on me. Oh gosh. Todd, I really enjoyed our small conversation that we had when I met you. And I did. I mean, I just sat there and just listened to you talk. It was very beautiful. You said a lot of stuff that resonated with me, a lot of stuff that I agreed with. You know, ethics that you know, I think are just absolutely beautiful. And really right now, I would just, in the first half of the show, would like to hear your story, straight up your story about what got you into what you do.
Wow. That's an interesting question. Was at a transition stage in my life. Thank God for transition stages, as difficult as they may seem at the time. We had just sold our company. We had an organic produce home delivery service in a health food store down in Los Angeles. And my wife is American. And so we have sort of a free pass at the border. And it's relatively easy to go back and forth. And our kids are dual citizens. And so it was working up here. And we thought, wow, what a great place, LA. So we went down there and we tried it for 4 or 5 years and couldn't pull it off, couldn't make it work because in the communities, when the beach communities where we were working, the people were generally quite wealthy and they would have a cook or a maid or a servant or whatever you call them, a housekeeper, and they would go and shop from the farmer's market regularly. And so it was difficult for us to keep regular clientele. And so it was a constant sort of going out, marketing sales to keep our base up. And so we sold the company, and happenstance, I had a friend who knew the owner of a drug and alcohol rehab. And they were looking to hire and train him as an interventionist. And so he was describing what they wanted him to do. And I was thinking, wow, that's going to be interesting. Derek, you'll probably really love it. And he goes, oh no, I'm definitely not doing that. I'm not the guy. And I said, well, it sounds fascinating. He goes, well, I'll introduce you to my guy. You go talk to him. And so I got hired as an interventionist. I got trained and hired as an interventionist. And this is endemic of my overall disappointment in the treatment community. And I'm not saying this is ubiquitous across the board, but this gentleman trained me first as an intake counselor. And so I would basically talk people. I was more a salesman than anything. I would talk people into coming to his treatment program, to his rehab. And so I would get a vested interest in these people that I was trying to encourage to come to the treatment program. And I almost got fired one day because one of the people was going to leave the program. And he called me. And so I tried to sort of talk him down and talk him into staying. But my office was actually in the facility. And so I left my office to go talk to him to keep him to stay there. And I almost got fired. And they said, you're not trained, you can't do that. But what I found out later was that that was a part of the business model. They called it a retread. So if somebody paid their $17,000 to go there initially for the month, and like 25% of them would leave within the first 5 days. And so then they would get to charge them another amount, another $10,000 or something to come back again. That was the penalty for leaving and coming back. And I thought, well, that's disgusting. And so I was already had a bad taste in my mouth with the industry. And even the marketing was manipulative. And so I said to him, look, I have no interest in doing this intake counseling thing. I don't feel good about it. He goes, all right, well, I know you came here to get trained as an interventionist. Sit down. I sat down on his desk, and I'm not exaggerating. He explained what I was supposed to do for 5 minutes and gave me my first contact number. You're trained now. That's it. Here's the number. Life and death scenario, somebody near overdose and suicide, and he gives me their number after 5 minutes explaining what to do. And so I did a couple of interventions. The very first intervention I did, I was so stressed because I was so attached to the outcome. I loved the family, and they were in such dire straits. And I remember when the kid agreed to go to rehab, I went out in my truck and I burst into tears. Just from the, I can let my guard down now. It happened. It worked. He's going. And then over time, I learned the abysmal success rates for these rehabs, that I was really probably doing them no favors. Maybe giving the parents a reprieve, that they had a month that they could relax and breathe, that the kid wasn't going to die, hopefully. But that the success rates were somewhere between 3% and 17%, depending on the studies that you believe. And so they're going to spend $20,000 through a 3% or 17% success. And even the term success was based on a certain criteria that was a meaningless metric, to be honest. And so I said to myself, I am going to develop my own intervention model. And I'm going to base it on love. I'm going to base it on compassion. I'm going to base it on spiritual premises. I'm going to base it on hope and understanding and empathy. And I'm going to get people back together instead of using coercion and threats to make them go to rehab as a part of a money play. And so I did. I spent a couple of weeks, and I just I used all of my sales history, which is about motivating people to do things. And I had a lot of sales experience, from a stockbroker to a door-to-door vacuum cleaner salesman to a door-to-door encyclopedia salesman to you name it. I had a lot of sales experience. And then with my own company, we went door-to-door to sell these home deliveries of organic produce. And so I used that combination of my spiritual knowledge and my spiritual reading and my sales experience, and I developed my own model. And my first 13 interventions were successful. But what was more exciting is that not all of them had to go to rehab, that they went through a transformation. And what I would do is I would reconnect them with friends and family. I would create a support network, not in a rehab, not in an AA group, but with the people that already loved them, that had sort of given up on them, or that they had alienated. And so I brought them back together and gave them commitments to support and love each other, to understand each other, to understand why this person was suffering, why they were lost in addiction. And then very quickly, it just parlayed into people started asking me to help them with other things. So I never became licensed. I developed my own model. And I did that for a couple of years. And then I moved back to Canada. I'd been back for about a year. I was still doing most of my work in the States. And I did a prayer meditation one night. And I was on my knees at the foot of the bed. And I don't know how to describe it even to this day. Talk about the abstraction of a psychedelic experience. This also was incredibly abstract. It felt more like I had a remembering, but not from this lifetime and not from this brain. And that sounds weird, but that's what it felt like. Oh, fuck, I knew this before. And in the most sublime and comprehensive way, I was giving the picture in imagery and the knowledge simultaneously of where all human suffering came from and what to do about it. And 8 minutes into my meditation, for about 30 seconds, I just had this transcendent experience where all of my hair stood on end. The hairs on my neck, just little goosies everywhere. And they didn't last for a second. They lasted for like 30 seconds. And then this download or this remembering happened. And it felt like if you would listen to a Christian describe being full of the Holy Spirit or whatever, I had this type of bliss and pain freeness, pain that I didn't even knew I had, that was so comfortable, was so chronic, so consistent that it just wasn't even pain to me anymore. But when it disappeared, I realized, oh, I had pain or tension there. But just a level of bliss, a level of euphoria along with this knowledge. And it just imprinted in me in a way. And I felt like I had remembered a purpose. And so I knew that I had to bring this to the world. And so I magically met a neuroscientist from Caltech. And that's another story, but it's all going to take too long to tell you this backstory. But I also meditated and prayed for a writer and an academic to help me bring this model to the planet. And 2 weeks after that meditation, this guy called that I met once at a coffee shop. And he was coming up to Vancouver to visit. And I didn't know he was a neuroscientist. I didn't know he was a molecular geneticist. I didn't know he was doing a dissertation in paleoanthropological studies. I didn't know he was an egghead and a genius and a brilliant neuroscientist at Caltech. I thought he was a songwriter, singer-songwriter. And so it was fascinating.
Had a huge plan, and you were falling into place with the proper footsteps. I love these stories.
Yeah. It's so clear. It's so clear. And so, yeah, like to deny that there's not something beyond this dimension. It's so clear to me. I can't, whatever you want to call that, you want to call it God, serendipity, the universe, a contract from the other side. I don't know, but I know what people call God. I know what people, and so I was driven, and this guy and I spent hours every day, 3-4 hours on the phone every day. He lived in California, was going to Caltech, and we were on the phone. He interviewed me on all the work that I was doing. He asked me everything that I knew about this download, about this remembering. And he was so intelligent, because what had happened is parts of the remembering disappeared in the periphery. And I held on to the seminal core ideas. And as he would sort of interview me and took 15,000 pages of notes, 15,000 pages of notes.
Wow.
And so, long story short, we worked together for 11 and a half years, and he was instrumental and brilliant in incorporating all these sciences into developing what we call the unified model of human behavior. And it seems that we didn't know that it was going to work. We didn't know. It was just a theoretical model initially. And then I came up with the therapeutic applications. And then I applied it first to substance abuse disorder. And then I applied it to eating disorders. Then I applied it to OCD. Then I applied it, and then I applied it, and then I applied it to depression, anxiety. And because the core mechanism that we discovered is the foundational missing link that is implicated in what we say is almost all modern day dysfunction. Call it pathology, call it disease, call it whatever you want. We discovered the missing link. And so it was a veritable paradigm shift. So we submitted 2 peer-reviewed submissions, and both got rejected because it was so fundamentally different than what the mainstream medical model or addiction model was doing. A paradigm shift doesn't get adopted easily by science. I mean, science might be the best process that we have for moving us closer to truth, but it's a slow, arduous process. There's a lot of inherent resistance to new ideas, especially something so transformative. And so it's been a long journey. And I believe now, more than anything, that a part of my contract in bringing it forward is that I must raise my vibration, raise my frequency. I need to resonate at the same frequency as the model. And I'm not there yet. And this will only be ubiquitous. This will only be a global healing bomb for the world. This will only become the actual transformation of that paradigm when I believe that I actually get to where I'm supposed to go. And so I've been through a lot of challenges, and I look at each one of those challenges as a gift, because each one of them potentially can fracture me in a way where I can remember some truer part of me, where I can expose a blind spot, where I can heal, be revealed, and remember completely who I am so that I can birth this model. And I feel like when there's coherence, that the paradigm will be accepted. So that's where I am right now.
Wow. Interesting. Interesting. Because it's a slow, steady, walk without letting the beating that will be thrown at you for throwing out a new paradigm, without letting that beating beat you down.
Yeah.
That's pretty intense. Because we looked for your book and whatnot, and it's not actually that easy to locate. And it's like, oh, that's interesting. But like you say, with science and in science, there's already a cash flow. There's a way the cash flows within all of the areas that you publish your studies, etc. And when you try and make things look, just not even go another direction, but look in another direction, it's like, no, the flow's over here. So it's I can see that it's, well, it already has been. How old is the book now?
The book we published the first book was 2007, second book of 2010. So almost 20 years, the first book.
And I would have to say your expectations of what was going to be revolutionized with the book, as opposed to where you stand. What is the difference between what you thought was going to happen as to the reality that transpired?
Okay, so just let you know, you have 6 minutes before we go to break. So,
Okay, that is fast. Yeah, it's such a good question, Steve. Well, you're both sides of the fence. There's this part of you waiting for more validation, going, each person that receives profound healing that is way beyond what traditional modalities are providing, where they're dealing with symptoms and allowing people to manage their pain better for the rest of their life. My model was facilitating what looked like, they weren't miracles to me, but what people were calling miracles. And so there was things that would get in the way in the beginning. Like, here you are, you're facilitating healing that nobody expects, And so one of the first challenges you have is this maybe like this Christ complex. No, you catch yourself and obviously you're not, but wow, at least this model has Christ potential, and I'm the facilitator and birthing this model. Like it was given to me. It was for me to share, you know. And so yeah, were there times where I knew inevitably, like I knew, and I still know, the model is inevitable. Its birthing is inevitable. It's just the when. And as you go year after year after year after year, and you feel like there's moments where you gain momentum and some big person's coming along and saying, I'm going to help you take this model to the world. And then it doesn't pan out or they disappear. And you could attribute it to a million different things. But so, yeah, there's the ego part of me that says, hey, this is going to be global. And John and I are going to be famous for helping create and develop the next quantum leap forward in the understanding of human behavior. And then there's the grounded sort of authentic part of you that just says, oh, wow, we've got to help people. And I'm bearing the responsibility where I've got this fucking gift that changes lives, but I'm helping one life or one family at a time. And it's a psychoeducational model. And that matters because it's not a therapeutic model. What it's psychoeducational means it's related to the coherence of the model itself, but also related to the understanding of the mechanism and the missing link as it can be self-applied, that when people understand this, they can just start healing themselves and nobody needs credit. They'll just be given the tools and the insight to understand how to interpret and experience things and respond differently so they'll be able to remember who they are, not even heal themselves. They'll discover that they were never broken. And then become the embodiment of that glorious manifestation of the remembering of who they are. I remembered who I was when I was given the model. And essentially, if I take all the brain science out, that's what I'm helping people do, is just remember who they are.
It's beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's freaking awesome. I'm looking forward to the second half. But at this point in time, we're going to take a break, go see some ads from our sponsors, which I might even be one. But we'll be right back after this short break. Please join us again.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420. Rerolled Saturdays. Check it out. Nothing but non-stop cannabis and psychedelic programming. Find it at 420pace.ca.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Are you looking to get your medical cannabis grow license? Limestone City Hydroponics can help patients through the process of obtaining their license to grow medical cannabis. What's that? You don't have a doctor. If you meet the medical criteria, Limestone City Hydroponics has a nurse practitioner who can assess and provide medical cannabis prescriptions. What are you waiting for? Contact Limestone City Hydroponics at limestonecityhydroponics.ca or call them at 613-548-0420.
Pace Radio is the people advocating cannabis education radio network.
lonesome day, and I'm gonna make sure it stays that way.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Good day and welcome back to the Mushy Moment for Tuesday, May 26th, 2026. We're here with Todd Ritchie from Transformed, having an absolutely incredibly interesting chat. And we're back.
We're back.
We're back. I just got attacked by my daughter's little puppy.
Oh, nice. Those are my favorite kind of attacks when they come from little puppies.
It was a good attack.
My door trying to get mine to come down, but she's upstairs with my friend Todd's dog.
Oh, you got another friend Todd. Good. Now you have two friend Todds.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let Cindy go because she's got the great steering.
I don't know about that, but yeah, I want to lead into your company now, Transformed. I was reading, Steve gave me the website and I was looking it over. I see that your daughter works with you and that you have another beautiful human. Her name is escaping me right now, but if I scroll down really quick while I'm talking to you, her name's going to pop up here. Chelsea. Yeah, I found it.
Yes.
That work with you. Talk to us about Transformed and what you do through there.
Well, we do a lot of different things. We do counseling, we do phone counseling, we do Zoom calls, we work with plant medicine. We also do something that's really unique, which is I travel the world and I do intensives. So I'll go and stay with a family where the individual really might be so dysfunctional that they can't leave. And I'll spend a week or 2 or 3 or 4 dealing with severe, extreme pathology, dysfunction, illness, addiction, whatever. And then also we have people come and stay. And so they'll stay in my home and they'll stay for a long period of time. And so an example of the type of person that we might work with, it ranges really anything. It could be somebody who's coming, who wants to learn how to do better at business and what's blocking them. It might be somebody who's coming for a specific pathology. It might be somebody who wants to come and do a plant medicine or a couple plant medicine sessions during an intensive week. I also still do what we call a love intervention, which is an intervention service with a completely different modality. Where I'm starting to lead towards is my passion. And my passion is public speaking. I want to get in front of, I'd like to do more podcasts, so this is good timing. And I'd like to get on stage in front of hundreds or thousands of people, because in an hour-long talk or a 2-hour talk, I can reveal enough information that people are in line at the end of my talk saying, I completely understand what my son's going through now. Or the lady behind him might say, my anxiety literally improved during your conversation. Just different things like that, where this information seems to have the ability to liberate people. And so the larger the venue, the more access to people, this psychoeducational process can actually make a huge impact. And so I think what will happen is that I'll leverage that and parlay that into a more meaningful talk, a bigger venue, and maybe in 2 or 3 years, I'm on the Joe Rogan podcast.
Oh, and you started on the mushy moment. I love it.
Yeah, right?
Have you talked to Andrew from the Spirit Plant Medicine Conference at all?
I have, yeah, and I actually did. I did his podcast too. He has a lady running a podcast through his company.
So you do know that it's coming back in October, and they're looking for speakers.
Oh, really?
Yeah. What Beautiful. A great place to start.
Yeah, that's a great place to start. Absolutely. I will.
Yeah.
I'll look that up. Thank you for suggesting that. Yeah, that's great.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they're back in October. I'm pretty excited. I'll be back out for October.
Yay.
Yeah, because I'll be coming to it for sure.
And I'd love to see you speak there.
Yeah, I'd love you to see me speak there.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it, man. That's my high. To get on stage in front of people. Oh, it's just so much fun. And I know it's horrifying for most people to get on stage and talk, but it is so much fun for me. And I can see the people in the audience, and I can see them and feel them responding to the information. I don't feel like it's about me at all. And I think that's why I love it so much. It's just about me sharing this important information. And as long as I make it about the information, I don't get nervous at all.
That's beautiful. That's yeah. I hear you there, because you're just delivering and you're putting it out and you're watching people light up. And the beauty in that moment is you're putting out your energy, but if there's 100 people there, you're getting that energy back, and it's all through a form of love, and it's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how I envision the future. I love it. I'm excited.
Wow. Okay, so tell us what you're going to tell people.
Oh gosh. Well, I think what I would tell them is that there's hope, and that what they don't know has been killing them, and knowledge is power, and that to offer somebody something different, to just say that I have something different and that I'm a credible source, instantaneously, that differentiator, that you showing up and saying, this is different, you haven't heard this before. Some people, it makes them suspicious, but for people that are looking for answers, just different can offer hope. And so I would just share with them, and I think I'm working on transitioning how I present. For so long, I would talk so much about the science, and I would try and find a way to present the science in lay terminology. And yet it was still very heady, very abstract, very wordy. And so I'm attempting and intending to come more from sort of the root of my experience of the model, my embodiment of the model, and present it in a way where it starts to feel different to people and sound a little bit different, even though I was often and almost always getting profound responses to people's understanding. I'm attempting to take it deeper. And so what would I tell them? The most important thing I have to tell them is what's driving all of the modern day dysfunction. And this is going to sound too bombastic for people to believe initially. But that almost all modern day dysfunction, I don't even mean just sickness and pathology and mental illness and addiction. I mean the war in the Middle East. I mean yelling at my kids. I mean relationship conflict. It's ubiquitous and it's everywhere. And there's a specific, simple explanation for it that you won't believe when I give you the simple presentation. And so then I have to go into the brain mechanisms to sort of explain how and why. But that we are literally, not metaphorically, literally, biochemically, physiologically addicted to suffering. Not as a metaphor, not as an observation, as a physiological process. Humans, all humans, without exception, to varying degrees, are biochemically addicted to the unconscious collaboration, the complicit participation in the unconscious pursuit of the creation of their suffering.
That's brilliant.
What do you do with that? I mean, that's an incredibly counterintuitive, kind of abstract. What do you mean by suffering? How do I make this concrete and have an understanding? So I start there and say that all dysfunction, all modern day dysfunction that's chronic or repetitive in nature, those are key qualifiers. It has to be chronic or repetitive in nature, are driven by this internal biochemical process. And so When somebody comes to me with an alcohol addiction, or somebody comes to me with an anxiety disorder, or somebody comes to me with a sleeping problem, or somebody comes to me with OCD, or somebody comes to me with body dysmorphia and an eating disorder, I treat everything the same. Your diagnosis has no impact on my treatment for you, other than the language that I'll use initially so that we are communicating clearly.
Same language, yes.
So I want to be really concise with this, and I want to make it, I want to make it something that people can understand. So we're addicted to our suffering, and there's something very specific. If I could simplify it without going into what anthropologists call evolutionary mismatch, without getting into that evolutionary psychology piece, if I could simplify it, there are moments or a pronounced moment when we are our most innocent, when we are our most unsuspecting, when we are our most vulnerable. And something happens in that moment that we don't have the ability to reconcile or make sense of. And in conjunction with not being able to reconcile that event, we experience the pain of that event alone. We're not in a band. There's nobody validating. People might be bypassing. They might be trying to placate. They might be making me feel better. They might be therapizing, but there's nobody just witnessing with me, empathizing and experiencing with me what I'm going through. We don't do that in the modern world, or very rarely. And so the combination of those two things means that something that might appear relatively benign, almost harmless to one person, to this person at this particular time, with this particular vulnerability and in this innocence and unsuspecting nature, something happens that we might call a trauma, but we might not. But whatever it was, directly related to the degree of their innocence. They were in a state of flow. They were in a state of trust. And the unsuspecting nature of that event threw them into survival mode. In that survival mode experience, they felt specific feelings, specific sensations that will either get trapped in the body or heal. And that will be determined by what do I do? How do I attach during or after that event, if we want to call it a trauma for now? When I'm in survival mode, how do I attach? And so if I'm a hunter-gatherer, where we evolved for millions of years, and I'm in the environment that I'm adapted to, I'm going to have what's called an authentic attachment. And so that trauma doesn't cause dysfunction. And we know that anthropologically when we do hunter-gatherer research. They don't have the same type of psychological dysfunction that we do. There's almost none of it, zero. And so we know it's a phenomena of the environment that is presented today, so that we're not in our natural environment. And so it becomes very, very difficult to have what we call an authentic attachment, to cope in a way that we evolved to cope. And so when I have an inauthentic attachment or a pseudo attachment or a false attachment or an addictive attachment, what happens in that moment is it locks the trauma in the body in different places in different ways. And almost everybody in a modern culture is going to have a false pseudo addictive attachment. It's very unlikely that we'll have an authentic attachment. And to whatever degree that we do, the authentic attachment is, first of all, what would be in the environment for a hunter-gatherer and the way that we operated. So our operating system is such that it needs that type of attachment. But the most important thing that you can understand about authentic attachment is that the most important attachment is the attachment of objective truth. Truth is always the most important attachment. And when we go through trauma, we often don't attach to truth. Like, give you an example. If a young child gets, sorry to be graphic, but gets sexually abused by their uncle. Well, often what they do is they say it must be my fault, because they can't reconcile that. Uncles don't molest nieces or nephews. So they can't reconcile what just happened. Wait, what? Wait, that's my dad's dad. Hold on, that's my mom's dad. Wait. So they can't reconcile it. Then they experience it alone. And then they lock it in their body because they don't attach to the truth. My uncle did something bad is the truth. My uncle did something hurtful. There needs to be corrective measures. That's the truth. But I might have unconsciously attached to, I'm not worthy of protecting. Maybe I brought it on myself. I'm guilty. I must have done something wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm bad. And also I might have internalized and said, well, men aren't safe. Men fundamentally are not safe. And all of those are not true. They're an exaggeration. One man isn't safe. Many men aren't safe. But the statement men aren't safe is pathological and based on subjective or objective evidence. As a general rule, it's not true. And so what happens now is that I attach to falsity, and then I attach to the specific emotions that I felt during that. I become addicted to those specific neuropeptides that elicit that emotional response. I become addicted to the story that I just created because of the experience. And then I become addicted to the identity that I become as a byproduct of my reactions and responses to those emotions and to that experience. And that becomes my program. And literally, oftentimes we'll find a way to distill it down into a 2 or 3 word phrase that's oversimplistic, but can describe the manifestation of a life that had a template, physiological, behavioral template that manifested and created a reality as a byproduct of this one event. The guy I was working with yesterday, we distilled it down to, it's not my fault. And so his pathology and dysfunction was a manifestation of this identity and this story. It's not my fault. And then that led to this behavior, and that led to that behavior, and that led to that addiction, and that led to that relationship. Not my fault. It was such a profound awakening. But that happened in a single moment. And then the experiences that happened as a byproduct of that moment.
Repetitive pattern.
And then it turns into a repetitive pattern because literally the very thing that saves you, I'll give you an example. So let's say that this young girl the uncle thing happens, and this young girl, she doesn't know what to do. So she goes into the bathroom and she starts just washing her hands at first. And she washes her face and she turns on the music and she starts cleaning the bathroom and still feeling really distressed, and she's crying, and she gets in and she has a shower. So she has a shower and she scrubs and she's feeling shame and dirty, and some part of having the shower is scrubbing off the shame. And she gets back out and she washes again and she cleans the bathroom, and she gets back in and has another shower, and she's in the shower for like 15, 20 minutes this time, and she turns on the music, and somehow she crossed the threshold of being out of survival mode. And the moment that I'm not fully immersed in survival mode, I come out past that threshold, the subconscious goes, whatever you're just doing is essential for survival. Now you've got a girl with OCD.
Yep.
Now, the OCD or those behaviors, cleaning, saved me in the moment, pulled me out of survival, might have helped me cope and manage with deep trauma, but now it's a necessity. I'm instantaneously, psychologically, and physiologically addicted to the compensation that saved my life. But now what ends up happening is the very thing that saves me is the thing that creates the loop. And so now washing my hands leads back to the same emotions, guilt and shame. Showering for a half an hour leads back to the same emotions, guilt and shame. I'm broken. I'm dirty, disgusting. Somehow, some way, in the most nuanced and specific ways, the very thing that saved me is now the blind spot, the thing that I'll turn to, the thing that I wouldn't give up because it's the thing that saved me. It's the thing I'll defend. It's the thing I'll justify. But it's the thing that's guaranteeing that I end back up. And it will attract people into my life, attract circumstance into my life. But more importantly than anything, it will become a behavioral template, an emotional template. It will become the paradigm with which I view my experience. so that I'm going to manifest in you, my friend, in you, my lover, in you, my mother, the justifications so that I can turn you into the role that I need you to play so that I can go back and feel that same emotion again. And so it starts to infiltrate not only my identity, but every interaction that I have and create codependent, addictive dynamics in every relationship where I'm going to blame them for the feelings that I'm having as I feel this most intense pain of my childhood trauma. But I won't see that it's my creation. And so when people, so there's a really important caveat here, because one of the common, or two of the very common emotions that we get addicted to are guilt and shame. In a variety of different traumas can often lead to guilt and shame. And when you reveal to somebody that they're the unconscious creator of the relationships and the dynamics and the perspective that keeps leading them back to the same painful pathology and the loop of their suffering, this perfectly crafted torture chamber that's specifically developed for their suffering. And so when you reveal that, if you don't do that with caution and care, and they're already addicted to guilt, then they start going, oh shit, then I created the divorce with my first husband. Oh shit, then I created all these health issues that I'm having. And they use guilt and they beat themselves up with it, which then intensifies the addictive loop. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep. Wow.
So
you verbalize it really, really well.
And it's counterintuitive and it's abstract. And there's one more piece. So first, we literally get addicted to the neuropeptides of our emotions. So every cell in our body, and there's a beautiful, brilliant Dr. Candace Pert that discovered this. She wrote a book called Molecules of Emotion in the 90s. And so what ends up happening is we have 100,000 receptors on the surface of our cells. And as the body is flooded with specific emotions the neuropeptides that we call emotions, the receptor sites on the cell have hundreds of receptors for that specific emotion. When it's flooded with guilt and shame, let's say hypothetically, well, when I think about the trauma, when I get triggered by the trauma, when I'm recreating the trauma, now I feel more guilt and shame, more guilt and shame, more guilt and shame. The hypothalamus is just pumping it through my brain and my body. And so what happens is the cells, as they replicate, they create a new daughter cell or a new sister cell with more receptors for that specific neuropeptide, because, wow, we need more. Look at the system's flooded, so that it adapts to the flooding of this must be important, says the system. And so then the next daughter cell and the next daughter cell with more receptors and more receptors and more receptors of that specific neuropeptide, the emotion you're addicted to, until literally the body, every cell, has a state, sort of like a state of consciousness, and it's jonesing for shame. It doesn't know it's good or bad. It's just that's the neuropeptide that I've built a tolerance for. And so the body is calling for shame. And so the best way it can do that is running things through a filter where it can interpret and influence its environment so it can see things the way it needs to see things, so it can feel the pain that it's addicted to. But still, in the most remarkable ways, it will manifest and attract people and relationships that will be perfect in a way that I can manipulate the experience so that that person will be ideally suited. And sometimes when we fall for people, the extra heartbeats that we get, the extra excitement, the extra adrenaline that we get is the addiction persona going, oh yeah, this girl. Yeah, this girl's, oh, she's going to bring you lots of that pain, pal. Indeed. And so there's one other mechanism that explains this. Why do we get stuck in the loop? And I'll try and do this very quickly, but it's a lot. The core mechanism that I discovered with my partner, John, is the hijacking of what we call the homeostatic drive. The homeostatic drive is the most powerful drive in all biology, and it's a physiological process, an emotional process, a biological process that compels me towards the things that are essential for survival. Drives me towards things that are good and tries to avert and avoid things that are dangerous or bad. And so it does that with a very elaborate cascade of neurotransmitters, but specifically two. The two primary neurotransmitters that mediate the survival response or the homeostatic drive are dopamine and beta endorphin. Dopamine is not a pleasure chemical. It's intimately tied to pleasure. It has multiple functions, but for the sake of what we've discovered in terms of the missing link, is that dopamine fundamentally, first and foremost, is a drive chemical, a drive transmitter, a desire, a wanting, a needing. So all of those things are subtly different and will influence the impact and how dopamine is administered and how much you get and so on and so forth. But let's say, just to simplify, that if I'm hungry, dopamine releases in approximately a doubling, and it creates a non-homeostatic event in the body. It responds to that, and then it activates the body to move towards the satiation of that hunger. So I'm hungry, I eat. I'm horny, I go have sex. I'm lonely, I go have friends. I'm tired, I have a nap, etc., etc. All of that is mediated by dopamine, by approximately a doubling of dopamine. And then also, then when I have the food, it's delicious, there's a doubling of beta endorphin. That's my body's primary pleasure chemical. When I have the sex, there's a specific type of pleasure. When I hang out with my friends, there's a specific type of pleasure. When I commune with nature, there's a specific type of pleasure. When I contribute to my band, there's a specific type of pleasure. When I pursue my natural and inherent abilities, there's a specific type of pleasure. All of those types of pleasures feel different, but they're still mediated in this pleasure centers of the brain, and fundamentally by a doubling of dopamine, approximately a doubling of dopamine. Beta endorphin, that's the pleasure. The quirk of nature, and I'm almost done, is that beta endorphin is also our body's primary painkiller. And we don't get it in a doubling for pain. So the dopamine says, run away from the bear, need to get away, compels me to get away. Dopamine, get away from the bear, activates the body. And then the beta endorphin kills pain. So I don't have to deal with the stress when I'm running from the bear. I'll mend it later because I can't feel the pain right now. I've got to get away from the bear. So it's essential, but it doesn't come in a 2 times, a doubling. It comes in 5 to 10 times. So for killing pain, I get 5 to 10 times the beta endorphin. For pleasure, I get 2 times the beta endorphin. Now here's the quirk. Beta endorphin is an endogenous opioid. It's essentially pure heroin, and it binds with the same receptor sites as heroin and fentanyl and any other opiate. And it builds a tolerance. And there's the chasing the dragon effect. And I need more and more and more to satiate my addiction to beta endorphin. And so the pursuit of suffering is all explained. And even why we go back to our source pain emotions of deepest childhood trauma is because my deepest childhood trauma elicits the biggest release of beta endorphin. My childhood pain, my emotional pain, and it's also something I can just think about it and I get the payoff whenever I want, 1,000 times a day. I don't have to wait for pain to show up physically. And then this leads to a cascade of other chemicals that happen in the body, and that leads to inflammation, and that leads to cytokines, and that leads to histamines, and that leads to then the creation of almost all of our dysfunction, pain, disease, and gosh damn, we're out of time.
Yeah, so like with that, please come back again and let's continue this conversation, because I feel like we've only really got the tip of the iceberg.
We didn't really talk much about your company. We just talked more about
I would
This has been absolutely incredible for me, just so you know.
Yeah. Like, okay, Andrew, we want to reach out and have you on in a couple weeks, so we're gonna bug you to get Todd to the conference.
Yeah, baby.
For the conference.
Thank you so much, guys, for having me. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, I'm sorry I just took up so much time. There's just so many things.
Oh, don't be sorry about anything. We'll just schedule another one and bring you on. Information is information. Healing information is special. And when it gets recorded like this, it's there for long periods of time. We can send people there to get the data. And your information is very valid and very healing.
Yeah.
It resonated with a shitload of it, my friend.
So before we let you all go, I just want to remind you all that if you want to get a hold of Todd, Transform.org will take you right to the website. There's a phone number and everything for you to get a consultation. You can get a free consultation I saw on the website and information about what he does and how he helps. And you can take a look and see if this is something that is for you or a loved one that you are concerned about. Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. On that, it's time. Better run those commercials.
I'll hang it. I'm hanging around so we can chat after.
Perfect.
Okay, perfect. Bye, everybody.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back after this toke.
Coming to us from the American Legion, VA launches MDMA-assisted mental health therapy trial. If you haven't seen a theme to my stories so far, it's all about psychedelics with the American government and what they're going through. In what many researchers are calling a historic milestone, the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs is officially launching a clinical trial involving MDMA-assisted therapy for veterans struggling with severe mental health conditions. According to the American Legion, the VA will be studying whether MDMA-assisted psychotherapy can help veterans suffering from PTSD and related trauma disorders, conditions that continue to affect enormous numbers of former military personnel. The trial marks a major shift in institutional thinking. For decades, substances like MDMA were viewed almost exclusively through the lens of criminalization and recreational drug culture. Now, one of the largest healthcare systems in the United States is actively exploring whether the compound could become a legitimate therapeutic tool. Researchers involved in the trial say the therapy works differently from traditional psychiatric medicines. Rather than simply suppressing symptoms, MDMA appears to help patients engage with traumatic memories while reducing fear responses and increasing emotional openness during therapy sessions. Advocates for veterans have been especially vocal in supporting this research, arguing that many former soldiers continue to struggle despite years of conventional treatments. One veteran advocate described the moment as long overdue. I agree. The launch of the VA trial also sends a powerful cultural signal. Psychedelic medicine is no longer confined to private clinics or university laboratories. It is increasingly entering major public healthcare institutions. And for many veterans watching closely, the hope is simple: that new tools may finally reach people who have spent years running out of options.
The emerald smoke climbs the velvet wall, and the shadows stretch a mile long in the hall. A glass eye stares from the mantelpiece, while the silver paper brings a sweet release. We're leaning back on the edge of the sky with a heavy lung and a vacant eye. Oh, the clock is melting on the wall tonight, and the floor is humming in the pale moonlight. The forest is breathing underneath the rug, in the quiet pull of the gravity tug. We're drifting out where the colors bleed beyond the soil, beyond the sea. The silver mountains are whispering names in a language born of the solar flames. The ceiling tiles start to liquefy into a kaleidoscope of a Tuesday sky. Time is a circle or a broken plate, and we've locked the keys outside the digging deep where the river runs, tasting the heat of 1,000 suns. One step for the spirit, one leap for the soul. Now the tea is black in the crystal bowl. Floating Suggestions for specific chords or instrumentation can be provided to give this more of a dark side or a metal era feel upon request. The emerald smoke, the emerald smoke, the emerald the emerald smoke. The emerald smoke cleanses the velvet wall. The emerald smoke comes the velvet wall. The emerald smoke.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Look at all that money, yeah, the money that they spend. Take another look now and take some time for him. Don't cut trees with paper, cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation, yeah, it's time for hemp. Whoa, an acre of hemp makes 20 barrels of oil. No need for pesticides to poison all our soil. People got no food, they got no clothes, they got no rest. Well, right now it's time for hemp.
Thank you for taking time for hemp. I'm your host, Casper Leach. On the program today, we are reaching across the border from America to the Canadian side with this wonderful program that we want to bring to you today. My joint host, Al Byrne, is also joining us on the big program. He is the official joint host of Time for Hemp. Hi, Al Byrne.
Hi, Casper Leach.
And we also have on our program as part of our joint team. And don't forget, anytime you hear the word joint on the big broadcast, hit your bongs, your pipes, your vaporizers, and let everybody all around the world know that it is time for hemp. On the program, we also have on our joint team Al Graham. Al is handling the controls and the devices to make certain that everything looks smooth and sounds groovy. And we're also being joined today by a joint friend of ours that Al Graham introduced me to 100 years ago when I first started getting activists in the cannabis movement. And that's Allison Murden, one of the people in my life who I just adore. Allison, how you doing? It's time for hemp.
Hi, everybody.
How you doing, Allison? How you doing?
Fantastic. Every day of my life, I'm always great. Thanks for asking, Al.
And as always, I like to sit back and hit the pipe and enjoy the conversation. So I'm going to let my joint host, Al Byrne, kick off the questions. Al?
Beautiful.
Well, first, let me just say hello. We spoke informally earlier, but people know I've been around the issue of cannabis in some fashion for about 40 years. And I don't accuse Allison of being that old, but she sure put her time in. I know that. We discussed that we've never met, but in my travels in the cannabis world, I've heard of Allison and her accomplishments, her successes, for a couple of decades anyway. So it's really good you're here. But let me ask the puff question that I think will get us moving, which is, you are what you are now, but there was a first time that you ran into cannabis, and you used it or not. But could you put us back in time and say, yeah, I ran into cannabis and then here's what happened? How about that for a start?
You bet, Al. And again, nice to meet you, my sweet friend. I actually was introduced to cannabis when I was a teenager. And when I was around 16 years old, I think it was then that I smoked my first cannabis cigarette. And the funniest thing was, as soon as I smoked it, I could walk better, I could talk better, and I had energy coming out of the wazoo. So bottom line, I knew then it was my medicine. So I started to pursue it when I was a teenager. And then when I became, I think it was around 28 years old, I got my first federal exemption or license.
Allison?
No, I got paperwork. Yes.
Can you include, like you mentioned medicine, can you include why you use this as medicine?
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. A lot of your listeners, I apologize. I've done a few interviews and I'm just ready to roll. My problems that I deal with are health issues, and I battle primary progressive multiple sclerosis and the world's apparently worst pain known to medicine in my face and head called trigeminal neuralgia, or a nickname, Tic-Dolaroo, the suicide disease. Ooh. So because I was told that when I was young, I thought there's no way that, A, I'm going to leave this world on my own, but B, no matter what, and B, I wanted to find answers immediately. So getting back to Al Byrne, I ended up going the route of becoming a law enforcement officer. I actually went into corrections and I started working with young offenders because, like me as a young person, they were not listened to. So I decided I would give them a shoulder and I would listen to them as to why they were being arrested for trafficking and doing all these things with, illicit substances. And it turned out that, again, it was mostly glamour and money that was convincing young people that they had to go that route. So again, I connected my law enforcement background with the fact that I needed and consumed cannabis as medicine, and knew from a very young age, Al, that it was actually good medicine for me.
Well, I think that's one of the ways that I first met you as well, was the Law Enforcement Against Prohibition organization founded by Peter Criss. I'm not sure whatever happened to Peter.
He's still around.
Is he? Because
Yeah.
I tried to find him, I can't. Anyway, and I think you were the major representative in Canada for that organization for the longest time, weren't you?
I was. There was a gentleman named John Gator who was a Parks and Recreations law enforcement officer for the Niagara Falls area. And he worked around the falls a lot, but he didn't really come out publicly a lot in the media. So I, again, tended to do a lot of media back when 100 years ago. And because of that, I became really vocal all around the world. So
Yeah, I actually thought you were a lawyer. You were so mouthy.
Well, you know, it's,
how I wanted to be.
that's, you know, that is just the passion in you, driving you to get the word out and, you know, tell everybody, just like other patients that find the benefits in cannabis, like, as you described in the beginning now. You know, when you were a young teenager and the first time you consumed it, you know, things became better for you.
But I just knew because, again, I'd had so many pills already. My history was 32 pills a day, 2,000 milligrams of morphine every day, heroin, and then cocaine. And at the same time, I was getting raw opium from a doctor sent to me from Montreal here in Canada every single month. Like, I had everything I was consuming under the sun.
Now,
So-
the cocaine and the heroin and stuff, you had a Section 56?
No, actually, I just literally, I was
Oh,
working
okay.
with a doctor in Canada here from Burlington, Ontario, who is, I guess, a really known pain specialist, but also known because he was so different with his administration of substances. So in the substances he was involved in, like heroin and cocaine, nobody else at the time would touch them. And I would go to the hospital 3 times a week, laying on a gurney, and I'd have a big, huge, and like tower of cocaine shoved up my nose while I was laying down to the nerve center at the top of my nose so that I could get some relief because it was 24 hours a day. So look at me now.
Patients that I worked with at Patients at a Time way back when, Barbara Douglas, she's deceased now, but she got her federal dose of cannabis every month for multiple sclerosis. She had some pain, but I don't think anything like you're describing. But what I did see was as soon as she started using cannabis on a daily basis, her spasticity decreased considerably right away. She actually, in a reasonably short period of time, went from her wheelchair to a cane to no cane. In fact, I tell the story. I visited her at the beginning of this process, and I came back roughly a year later. She lived right on a lake, Stormont Lake, Iowa, and a beautiful home. And just to be dramatic, to let me know that she was doing a lot better, before I left to hit the road, she got on a jet ski and skied around the lake.
Oh, wow.
So, and that was using U.S. government, what I will call swag, inferior product. Did the cannabis help you in that way at all, or a lot?
You know what, Al? I actually found out when I was young. Pardon me, I just ate a gummy. I found out when I was young that I was learning a lot about cannabis as medicine through a doctor in the U.S. named Dr. Ethan Russo. And Dr. Russo was specializing in migraines, cannabis as medicine, multiple sclerosis, and what I suffer from, trigeminal neuralgia. So Gary contacted him decades ago, found him in a chat room in London, in England, and begged him to help me because I was having such a bad night then. So this doctor, Dr. Russo, is an angel, ended up inviting me to the first cannabis conference in Canada. And the year was 1999, but I think the published papers are coming from 2004 on. But when we went in 1999, I took my mom and we stayed at a bed and breakfast close by the facility because we couldn't afford a hotel at all. Again, I have no money. And I ended up going to this conference with my mother. My mother sat beside me, who sat beside Raphael Mechalom, as he had his arm around her the entire weekend at every meal. Couldn't get enough of talking to my mother about my situation. So Raphael told me, Rafi promised me that not only would cannabis help me, but that there would be answers that I would be amazed to see. So what I had done then was I'd gone home and I'd looked up more on GW Pharmaceuticals, a big pharmaceutical company from England at the time. And I found a study when I looked up multiple sclerosis. I found a study that I printed out that day. And the line in the study that I was most impressed with and most concerned about, and took to my doctors, my members of parliament, everybody under the sun, said exactly, cannabis will halt the progression of MS. So from that day on, I thought, I found my medicine. I went back the next day, gone. Nowhere to be found on the internet. And to this day, it's still not there, but I have it. So
Well,
again,
I know when I did research on you, I discovered you're rather ornery and you're rather vocal. You were one of the very few nationally known cannabis activists in Canada, and so you were hanging out with the notorious people like Mark Emery and Jody Emery and all those, Michelle Rainey, all those pot smokers in the world who were just taking Canada to hell in a handbasket, and you wouldn't shut up about it.
if I can just drop a little note in here, Michelle Rainey, God rest her soul, she left us a few years ago. She actually was one of the ones who helped me get to that big medical cannabis conference I was just telling you about, where I met Raphael Mechalom. Dr. Ethan Russo had invited I had invited my mom. I was the only lay person there, but the tie-in is that Michelle, I guess, told me that she was following my work at that time and was more than happy to help me out. So before I knew it, within a day or two, I had 10 $100 bills in an envelope with red lipstick marks everywhere on it. I guess it had come from Mark Emery, she said, and they wished me well.
But you didn't seem apprehensive about talking to the press, talking to anybody about the need to use medical cannabis at a time when if you just said the word marijuana out loud, people shunned you and put you into a camp.
You bet. But I also had a really good lawyer, Casper. I had Professor Alan Young, who was standing behind me. I've always had lawyers every step of the way.
Well, that does help.
And Alan actually was one of the reasons that I got a lot of the media that I did. Because he actually reached out to everybody and, like you said, hey, there's a patient here who's speaking. I guess it was unusual. I didn't know that. I didn't know that at all. I thought everybody did it.
Well, that's the thing, eh? Speaking up, sharing the stories, it helps to educate the public, lets people know who, this is going on. And, look, basically, look who we are here now, a decade or more later. Right?
Always. What? I couldn't have done it without all of you and everybody else beside us, because as one, we are a force to be reckoned with.
Oh, yes. Yeah. The bigger it makes our voices louder. There's no doubt about that.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Now, your activity and advocacy and stuff like that, you're also involved in the Toronto Global Marijuana March when it first got started.
We brought it to Toronto, actually. There were 5 of us who originally decided, I think it was in the 90s again, 1999 it might have been.
Yeah, exactly.
I was going to say, and there was a Compassion Club owner named Neve, a Compassion Club owner named Dom, Stephen Bacon, who is one of the first licensed patient. I think he is in the category of the first.
In the first group.
and Gary and myself, and I was in my electric wheelchair with a flag, and all I wanted to do was legalize cannabis. So we decided we were going to bring the Global Marijuana March to Toronto and give them a thing or two to talk about.
Yeah, and it's still going today.
Well, funny enough, Al, the first year, like I said, there were the 5 of us marching around the major city streets of Toronto, screaming, booming off the buildings. We had a great time. Next year, I heard there were over 20,000, but I've heard as many as 50,000
Yeah,
who joined us. That was totally cool.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's what I like to see. I'm a
It
head
was.
cheerleader from when I was young. Sorry, Al. And all
Yeah.
I want to do is make sure everybody screams the same as we do.
Oh yeah, it was all part of helping get to legalization and the programs for the patients and all that, because of the fact that people were speaking up.
Exactly.
Allison, when you were doing this process in Canada, what were you running into? I mean, what was the opposition saying back? Were they just was it religious, political, stupidity? What was it?
I think a bit of all of the above, Al, truly, but it was a big political move for us at the time because the government was not willing to budge at all. And we felt as patients, and I knew, because again, I'm a retired corrections officer, I know my rights. And I knew that one of the rights here in Canada was to use anything licit or illicit to feel better. And I couldn't find anything licit, which is legal. So I went illicit, which is illegal, and I got my answers there.
Yeah, I just ran into stupidity. Where's my government? They're just nothing but dumb as stones. I was just wondering.
Now, as far as like when you first got, like you said, you were one of the first people to get your medical license for cannabis. Before then, what was the process? Like, I know what it is, but what was the process that patients would have had to follow at that time?
That's a good question, Al. Before there was a program in Canada, people like me really suffered because we were trying to teach the government that cannabis was good medicine and they weren't the least bit interested in listening. So what I did again was I started to find lawyers. That's what started my lawyers trail. I started to find lawyers who would help me pro bono for free, whether it just was to give me an answer for a question or to actually lead me in a direction that I wanted to go and tell me what the consequences would be, all those sorts of things. So when I was young, again, leading into that and starting with the lawyers, I felt that that was probably the way for me to go. So I continued on that way, Al. And so much so that every step of the way, I've used a lawyer. I've told the lawyer. I've been involved with a lawyer. I've done everything with the lawyers. And that's how I do it. So for me, again, it was the long, path trying to get that, confidence, as well as, make sure that they understood my fight. Because again, in the beginning, a lot of the lawyers just thought I was trying to legalize and regulate every drug just so I could use. Like, no, I'm already using it. I don't need it for that.
So what keeps you in the movement? What keeps you motivated to go out and continue to speak about this? I mean, hey, the whole country's moving.
Yeah,
having that problem now in Canada. I mean, it looks like things are rolling back in some ways.
Al, you would know better, but I'll tell you as a patient, Casper, I was one of the first 20 patients in Canada in 1994.
Yep.
And now here I am, 2024. I'm old. And all of a sudden, again, I've been under the program for about 5 years. So I can't even get into the program because A, my amount is too much, and B, how am I going to afford it?
No.
That's what I mean. It seems like it's gone backwards
Yes.
in the attempt to help those who need it.
Yes.
Yeah, because
And
affordability.
and it seems like it's been a deliberate attempt to make that happen.
You know, I do agree. I do agree. Our fight is not over. When you asked me if my fight was going to continue, it is continuing for those very reasons, because people are suffering. People are not getting what they're asking for. And as a country, I'm wearing a shirt that says the power of the people is greater than the people in power. I wish people would start to listen.
I do too. I do too.
Yeah, I think they know it just takes a while. A long time ago, I ran into a PhD student that was working in a hospital, and she had social histories or something was her PhD, and she was very interested. This was 30 years ago, about what I was trying to do with cannabis and all that shit. And she said, "Well, good luck, sir, because it takes 100 years for a culture to change its ways."
That's time.
So
Well, I've lived that long. How come it hasn't changed?
you know, you got to hang in there. You got to hang in there, because 100 years isn't for another 10 years. So I'm just saying, be patient. You know, be patient.
Yeah. Well, I like to come back 100 years after legalization to see how it's changed.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Now, Allison, you know how they always say, in order to make change, you have to get involved in things in order to do so. I would say you took that right to heart back in the early 2000s when you actually ran for political office.
Excuse me. Actually, I was a little upset that I was 40 years old, and I thought, not much is being done here, Casper. Getting back to what you were saying, they move at the pace of a glacier, the courts. So when I ran for office, I decided I was going to put cannabis on my platform, and became the first person in the world, which I did not know at the time, to do that. So I had international media from around the world interviewing me about running for political office with cannabis on my platform. And what I was trying to do was legalize and regulate the plant as not only as medicine, but for everybody then. And we more than doubled the votes that year for the New Democratic Party of Canada federally, because people wanted change then.
Yeah, and what I ran into down, those are kind of the years I was with running Normal. And, you know, I back then, I disagreed with that, obviously, because Normal was a legalization outfit, always wanted to be, still is. And when I got there, I was I took over the reins of the place, ran it for a few years. And I was certainly interested in legalization, but I was also interested in the medical aspects of it for personal reasons. And I had met and admired Jack Herr and listened to his arguments about hemp. So anyway, from a military standpoint of view, which was my background, I decided when Normal was there that we'd be better off having a three-pronged attack, if you will, on the government. They just didn't have to fight back on legalization. Now they were going to have to debate about hemp as a product and hemp as a medicine. So, you know, for me, strategically, even tactically, it was a good thing to do. So to get to your point, that meant for me a total disentanglement of either hemp and medicine or both from legalization. So back what you were talking about, see, I would have counseled you then. One or the other. One or the other. And I would still say to advocates the same thing. Pick your
cannabis over hemp.
and do it with passion, but do not start to intermingle.
Yeah,
You said
Allison,
you agree with me now, Allison?
100%, Al.
Well, good. Yeah, I think it's important to both our countries that we understand there's three issues here at a minimum.
Yes. Well,
Yeah, and then there's this thing called freedom, which we won't even have to,
freedom. I have to go to Wikipedia to look that word up. Just a minute.
Well, you could ask other people. I know Aaron Kay and I have been talking about that a lot. I'm sure you gentlemen know him, the yippee pie thrower. He actually, again, is somebody who's huge on freedom. Hi, Aaron. Bottom line, again, what I was going to say to you, Al, is that obviously all of these things are important. So when people actually get out there and fight, things like political issues are part of the battle, but they're not the whole battle. People have to understand that, again, there's so many uses with cannabis and hemp, which are two completely different plants. Canada right now is trying to meld the cannabis consumers who are social or recreational in with people who like us who are patients. And what they're trying to do is push the patients into the open cannabis market here in Canada. And we are fighting it every step of the way, Al, because they, for one, social consumers do not use nearly as much or consume nearly as much cannabis as people like me who consume it 24 hours a day. So again, and affordability is a huge factor for patients in Canada with cannabis. Now, I can't even imagine what it would be like if they got rid of.
We find that frustrating here in America. Like I said, I'm 100, so I'm on Medicare, Medicaid, and everything else that the government can give. But I can't turn into my insurance claim my cannabis money. I spend this much money on. I need an ounce a month or an ounce a day. Thank you. And I want my Medicare to cover it, but no. But it'll cover these medicines that they give you to kill you when you're going through cancer and chemotherapy. They'll pay for that, but they sure heck won't pay for something that really, is good for you. So it is frustrating.
Fair, though? Is that fair? What we're fighting for in Canada is choice, Casper. This is what it boils down to: is that patients deserve choice. If you want pills, have pills. If you want to go to the pharmacy and pick up your medicine, go right ahead. If you want to go on your own, you should not be interfered with.
Well, Allison, wait a minute.
Yes.
I get that part of it. I got a question.
You bet.
As far as cannabis goes, are you saying that the government policy in Canada is forcing patients into the commercial market?
Mm-hmm.
Did I get that right?
Pretty much, actually. They're not giving us the choice, Al. Which
and
again,
some doctors are actually saying, well, why should I sign a license for 10 grams when you can go to the store and buy 30 every day?
Exactly.
The federal government also put out a review questionnaire on cannabis legalization, and one of the questions, question 5.2, actually asked, would the storefronts be a substitute for the medical cannabis program?
Well, let me ask this question too, that in Canada, if that guy writes a prescription, who pays him? So it doesn't matter where you go, you end up paying the bill. That's what you're saying.
Believe it. It's the only medication in Canada that I can find that doesn't have a DIN number, a drug identification number. It's called a DIN number.
No, that's because it's a plant. See,
exactly.
They don't do that to plants.
You're right.
I want to take this one more step farther. The medical is forcing you to go into the commercial. Here, as well, on top of that, when we go into the commercial, I had some friends. I live in Indiana. I had some friends who were going to Illinois, where it is legal to purchase. So I called up to Illinois and I asked how much an ounce was, and they said $225. And I said, I can get it $125 on the black market. And they said, yes, we know. But because of the taxes that we have to pay to the state and all the license fees that we have to cover, the only way that we can afford to stay open and do business is to charge those prices. So we do understand that the black market is beating us. So the medical pushes you into the commercial, and the commercial is still pushing you into the black market.
So true, Casper. And this is the fight I've had for decades with LEAP and Law Enforcement Against Prohibition. I spoke for them for 12 years. They're based in the United States. And bottom line, we all agreed that that was absolutely ridiculous to make patients go to the street for our medicine. So what we decided then was that nobody, no patient whatsoever, and nobody should be on the street for their product, for their whatever it is they're buying. So we needed to obviously eliminate the street market yesterday.
Exactly.
It exactly was fought for full legalization and regulation of every single substance in this world. The harder and the stronger the substance, the more it had to be legalized and regulated, taken away from the street, taken away from our children, and taken out of the hands of the criminal element once and for all.
Well, I think there's still pockets of Canada, I might be wrong, that also have it illegal in such a sense that here in the States, again, I'm living in Indiana.
Yes.
All the way around me, Michigan, Illinois, Kentucky, and Ohio all have it legal for recreational and medicine. Indiana does not.
That is so wrong.
I tell people, like, when it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon in New York, it is noon in LA, it's 1955 in Indiana. And so because of that, I've got friends who are my age who have a lot of physical ailments. I have a friend who's missing a leg. I have another friend who's got heart problems. I have another friend who's dealing with all kinds of, and they need this to get through their day.
Right.
But the whole state says that even as a senior citizen who is crippled up, even though you need medical cannabis, if you're caught with us, they're going to put you in jail.
Well, let me just say, Indiana, if I can, there's a wonderful vet there. If any vet is listening and you're in Indiana, there's a guy named Jeff Staker, Staker. You can find him on the internet. It's something like Indiana Vets for Medical Cannabis. Jeff Staker, if you're in that area, you want to help him. The other thing I'll say about Indiana is I lived there for 4 years as a student at Notre Dame, and Notre Dame has a huge influence in that state, as you might think. And the Pope, the Catholic Pope, somebody asked him a couple of years ago what he thought about medical cannabis. The Pope said, if it helps people, they should have it. That's pretty simple.
Yep.
And Notre Dame has not taken the Pope's advice. If Notre Dame, my alma mater, would get off their ass and do the right thing for people and patients, they would talk to Indiana and say, if the Pope's for it and Notre Dame's for it, you need to be for it. So that's my little diatribe about Indiana. I'm sorry that you're there, Casper. I know you have a comfortable life and all those things. And you are obviously, your neighboring states is surrounded by good, nice, considerate, thinking of their sick and ill people. And you happen to be right there in the middle of Devil's Land. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. Hug your dog. Hug your dog.
My dog's doing groovy. Thank you for asking.
We see your dog.
I'm her pet. She owns me.
She's got you well trained, does she?
I wasn't gonna love her. I was just gonna like her. After my last dog died before I got her, I sat around the house like my grandfather did and just stared out a window for like months. I just sat around and was just lost.
Yeah.
And I decided I wasn't ever going to allow myself to get that wrapped up in an animal again. And I would never love that deeply. But I also figured since I had this big room in my house and I was still alive, I could bring one home and give it, food, shelter, be nice to it. And about the third week, she stole my heart. The bitch ain't gave it back. So
that's the way we are, honey. That's the way we are.
But I wasn't gonna love her. I was just gonna like her, just be friends with her. And that's okay. You can hang out.
You didn't have a chance.
Yeah, you're wrong, me. All right. Now, you might have seen there. I just flashed your website up there. I'm using a different browser today, and I see that it puts things directly to the screen. So, this is where basically people go to your website. You want to tell us about it? What your website address is?
Sure. Actually, my website is my name, but that's my first website in the world. Again, Casper, about 100 years ago, you might remember. And it's called the Medical Marijuana Mission. But it's a link on my new website.
No.
I don't even know, probably the early 2000s. I've had a website, my name, AlisonMurden.ca, AlisonMyrden.ca. And I'm not just on the internet, I'm everywhere.
You haven't shut up since you started talking about this damn plant.
Allison, on a fashion note, I have a friend, a vet in Louisiana named Tony Landry, and he's a great guy, and he's a cannabis advocate. He's done more for Louisiana than anybody else probably, but he shows up wearing hats, different hats, and I kid him about it a lot. So I was just wondering, are you a hat lady? Do you show up in different places with different hats?
I am actually. I have again, probably at the end, close to 1,000 hats, I'm sure. No, but I have probably close to 30 or 40 different hats. I've been wearing them since I've been in my teens. So whatever's in style, I just snap it on my head and off I go.
I probably should wear one, to cover the shine.
For me, it's to cover the hole. I don't want anything to escape.
I went ugly early and got it over with, and just moved on to other things.
You're beautiful. All you got to do is put a little wax on her, and you're off to running.
How do I do now, Allison, to get the right website up there?
Beautiful. Al Graham, I don't know where I would have been without you, my friend. AlisonMurden.com. And that's my big fluffy guy. 36 years he's been in my life hanging out with me. Gary Lynch. Kind of cute.
Now I see here.
So what's next? So what's next for Alison Murden? Are you hanging out every day at the smoke shop, just getting high and watching cartoons, or what?
No, my darling, I've never really been like that. I work every day on the internet because all around the world there's somebody who needs help somewhere. Actually, right now I'm working with a fellow from the Philippines, a Canadian, who's just written a book. So I'm hoping to help him. He's a traumatic brain injury patient who uses psychedelics.
Wow. You think you'll ever slow down?
No, I don't think so. I've always been really busy. Like I said, when I was young, I don't think I ever stopped. I had my first job teaching guitar at 16 and thought I was going to be a rock star and went down that path for a while. Had a recording contract at 18 and then got my tonsils out and everything was over when I got diagnosed with MS in my 20s. So I live vicariously through my rock star friends, and I decided to again go into corrections. And when that didn't turn out, Casper, I went down the road of being an activist.
Well, I know you are a conundrum because not only are you a former police officer, we're all afraid of the police, right? But you're also a former politician. And in spite of that, I've always liked you, and I've told you that, right?
Thank you.
But you made it clear, too, that it wasn't always on the agenda of the police person to go after the cannabis user.
No.
You were quick to point out, as well as many members of the LEAP organization, that many members of the police departments all around, not just Canada and America, but the world, consider these cannabis laws nonsensical and a waste of their life, right?
They most certainly are. As you know, Casper, again, I've been fighting this well over 30 years. I was actually fighting it before I actually became a member of LEAP or speaker for LEAP. And that started again, I think, in 1995 or 1994 or something like that. I don't even remember now. It's been so 2004, pardon me. And again, lasted for 12 years with, LEAP. So, but before then, I was already doing a lot of vocalization about drug law reform in Canada. Everywhere I could go, I was speaking about it. So it wasn't until 2000 that the media even picked me up in Canada. So, and then from there, I've just been going nonstop.
So whatever happened to LEAP, I've seen that it's kind of online. They seem to be doing some of the same things. Peter Chris, the guy who founded it, is no longer part of it. Do you know what is up with LEAP? Is it still a good organization? Is it stagnant? What?
Yeah, a few of us left LEAP a number of years ago because their mandate changed, Casper. And I think this is my opinion. I believe that a lot of the officers were just a little frightened to speak out the way some of us did in the beginning. So Jack Cole, Peter Chris, myself, very vocal people in LEAP. I mean, that when you think LEAP, we're usually the three people that you think of because we're the ones who've been speaking out the most. So ultimately, again, when the three of us left, again, Jack and Peter being two of the original founding members, LEAP had to change. They had to realize that they needed to go down again a different road. They already were pursuing that road, more corporate sort of belief in legalization at the time, which was not, again, what I was about. And I was the first one to leave, I believe. And then Peter and Jack, we all left around the same time. I don't even remember.
Right.
But as soon as LEAP changed their mandate, we were gone. There was no point in us staying around. They have a great mandate. Please don't get me wrong, but it's not something that I fight for.
Right.
So, again, I think they're kind of going down the route now that people like me have always been going down. But, again, it's difficult when you have a corporate group of law enforcement officers, some of whom are not retired. So, and that's always been the case with LEAP. Some of them have been active duty police officers, law enforcement officers when I was with LEAP in 2004. So again, we have a mix of everything, and it just wasn't sitting well, our message that Peter and myself and Jack were already spreading. So.
Well, anybody got any closing questions for our guests today?
So what now we've fought for legalization. We fought for the medical access. As we know, the numbers are going down, patients growing and stuff like that, and the push towards the commercial businesses for the patients. Do you see down the road, like, I know the court challenges have said there's always going to be a medical program, or has to be a program. But do you see that that's just maybe it'll just dwindle off in the end? And what do you see for cannabis legalization down the road?
Already the program, I was actually very surprised when I pulled up the numbers the other day in Canada. There are just around 300,000 patients in Canada. And I was one of the first 20 in 1994. And I honestly thought by now there would be a lot more than just, again, 300,000 people. So it ended up, that's just a rough number.
Yeah.
But I'm just you that we fought, all of us fought so hard for this to be medicine here in Canada. I honestly thought it would take off a lot faster and be a lot bigger than it is. So we still have a fight in our hands. I'm still talking about it every chance I get. Again, I was just on Montel Williams' podcast. Let's be went just recently, and we were talking about that exact issue, that we have to keep it out there. We have to keep talking about it because people don't really, I mean, it's there one day and then they forget about it. So somebody like me who's repetitive constantly brings these issues up over and over and over and over and over again. And I think that's, again, what's driving it in is people who are finally repeating these messages continuously, whether it be for days or weeks or hours, whatever it is.
And now, to those people who say, well, cannabis is legalized, why do you need to protest? What do you need to keep fighting the government? What do you say to them?
I say it's not legal everywhere in the world, and that's our fight, everybody. We're all in this together, and it's a global issue. It always has been. If that were the case, I would have fought for just little old me in Burlington, Ontario, Canada. Right?
Yeah, but right now, guys, there's something north of 27, 28 countries in the world that have cannabis as part of their pharmacopoeia.
Yes.
Meaning to people it's medically available in that country. And that's a lot of people. It's not that the knowledge isn't there, the science isn't there, even the experience isn't there. It's just the United States government has this, what I call a hubristic attitude. If it isn't America, it ain't worth shit. Which in this case is a fallacy on wheels. But just again to Canada, as I understand it, and I'm not up on this, but for a few months ago, I believe that Canadian veterans approved for cannabis use still are getting their daily or their weekly cannabis doses delivered to their homes. If that's correct, what I would suggest is maybe the activists up there should at least start to get the conversation going, advocate for that type of service to also be extended to their first responders, to EMTs, police officers, firefighters, guys that fight firefighters out in the woods, those kind of people who are in harm's way. It might be, I'm just suggesting, a way to reinvite the conversation about who should get it and why. Just a suggestion.
Well, and then the other aspect of it, may I interject here, is there are states here in America that say, oh yeah, well, it's legal medically and it's legal recreationally, and that's really nice, but how legal medically is it? We talked earlier about how I can't file a claim with Medicare to have it covered. I can't have a doctor give it to me if I'm in a hospital so I can smoke it in my room to help the pain that I'm dealing with instead of taking this narcotic they want to shove in my arm. I'm not allowed to utilize this particular medication in public because they treat it like liquor, but it's a medication, right? If I need an insulin, I can take insulin in public. If I needed an aspirin, I can take an aspirin in public, but I can't take, so that's the other aspect of it being complete. We're not done with the fight. Okay, so yeah, it's legal, but how legal?
Well, actually, Casper, if I may, and I was going to, because Canada seems to me to go in the other way. Right now, down in the United States, depending on state law, you can buy cannabis legally, medically, or both. Federal law is prohibited, right? You can't have it. Bang. Right. So right now in the United States, what the Congress is considering, because the DEA, the cops have said it's a good idea, not the medical people, the cops, that the cops say that physicians in the United States will be able to prescribe cannabis now because they're going to put it in Schedule 3, which in the United States means a physician, a nurse practitioner, a veterinarian can prescribe cannabis for off-the-record use. In other words, even if they say that cannabis is put in Schedule 3 for neurological reasons, a doctor can come along and write it for nausea. So they put it in Schedule 3 in the United States. This is why I say it's the opposite, I think, of what Canada's doing. Because what this is going to do, this could close up dispensaries here in the United States. Because if you write a prescription in the United States, the people that fill that prescription are pharmacists. Okay, now there's a all of that's very, very regulated. So now you got an MD, he charges you money, he gives you a prescription, you go to the pharmacist, not the dispensary, to get that prescription filled. Now that takes away a lot of objections that Casper was just talking about. And it does another thing, it makes it legal federally. So from a veteran point of view, again, the VA down here won't help a veteran with using cannabis in the United States in a non-legal state. Well, as soon as the federal government says it's Schedule 3, everything in the VA and the health system for our vets becomes equal. It is not equal now. So for me, that's a good thing.
It is.
Bad thing, pharmacies, possibly even worse thing, closing down dispensaries. And then we get to the cost aspect. And well, if we're closing down the dispensaries because everybody's got to go to a pharmacy, who the hell can afford anything anyway? I think no matter what these countries do, and yours or mine, it's just none of it makes sense. It just does not make sense.
Here,
and I just want to say to the audience, I don't need to preach to Casper especially. When you see these kind of arguments going on, they're going to put it in Schedule 3. They're going to do this. That's if you think it's a drug. That's if you think drug, okay? If you think what's going on, it's a plant. It's a friggin' plant. And just like Alan says, I've never seen one of these retail checkout things on. Well, you never will. It's a plant. So the logical thing is to get the hell out of the way, turn it over to the Department of Agriculture, U.S. or Canada, treat it as a plant, and then they can also regulate it as a medicine. As a serious patient, I would want, as an option, we're talking options, I want to go to a pharmacy and get something that's been approved and packaged correctly and stamped. And if I've got the insurance, that's what I want. But and I also want to grow it in my backyard.
Exactly.
So
I think it should be treated like grapes, where with grape you can make liquor out of it. So if you're making something like that out of cannabis,
that's what I'm saying.
You can make jelly out of it. You can make jelly out of it, or eat it right off the vine, and that's like for 3 cents, or no regulation for that.
It's a plant. So I would recommend advocates to always say that when the people they're talking to keep referring to cannabis as a drug. It's not a drug. But to get that change of cognitive thought is you got to just slam them with it.
You're right. You're right.
Well, and that's why I'm always careful to call it a medicine. I don't ever call it a drug, because you're right. It's not. It's an herb. It's a medicine. When it's used for medicine, it can be used for recreation. It can also be used to cook with, just like grapes, right?
And so.
And the sales on the USS Constitution, endless uses for the cannabis plant. And by the way, when we're talking this, another thing that I'm going to try and bring somebody on in the future is talking about nutrition.
Oh, yeah.
The nutritional value of this plant is extraordinary, especially the seed oil. Just incredible what it can do for the human body. So
I want to just take
a lot of good stuff there.
I just want to take you back to your comments about the patients and being able to go to the store and pick up their cannabis and whatever cannabis they want. Our medical program does not allow patients to do that. Our medical program only allows for mail order. So a patient who wants to order their cannabis has to do it by online, and that company, which is the licensed producer, will mail the cannabis to the patient.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, a patient cannot walk into the store and fill out a prescription for cannabis. There's actually only one, maybe two. I only know of one store, and that's in Ottawa. And that's that's in Ottawa. That's the only store. Other than that, all our stores in Canada are recreational.
Yeah, like Al just said.
Yeah. So it almost you were talking about that you're worried that the future could get to the point of where patients, the stores will be closed because the patients are going to get their cannabis in the mail. And that's exactly what is happening and has been happening here in Canada since day one.
I think that's a good thing, frankly.
You like that, eh? A lot of
I have no problem with getting it delivered to my house. Bad weather, I got one leg, whatever it is, they bring it to my house. I think it's a good thing.
Why can't we have both?
Why can't you have both?
Right?
Well, instead of having Amazon Prime, we'll have Cannabis Prime.
My nickname from Gary is Prime. So we'll be.
Now, at one time, you were able to grow personal, like 6 plants in your own backyard. Is this still that way in Canada?
We grow 4.
4.
4.
All right.
Well, that's pretty nice because they don't define what a plant is, do they? They just say a plant. It could be 30 feet high, right?
There are a couple caveats to that.
Oh.
If you live in, like, for example, if you're in BC, the plants cannot be grown where they can be seen. So, like growing them on a balcony. There was a fellow who got arrested because he had 4 plants or 3 plants growing in a garden during a garden show, and the plants weren't even part of the garden tour. And also the province of Quebec, the Supreme Court of Canada, has agreed that the province of Quebec can prevent their residents from growing 4 plants.
That is absolutely egregious of our
It
government.
is. Now, Manitoba had a law like that, but they have a new government that has gone ahead and changed that law. So in Manitoba, they will be able to grow. But in Quebec, no.
Well, that's not unlike what's going on down here with some of our states.
Correct. Yeah. No, I follow all your news, and
yes,
some of it gets me upset. I guess I'll tell you when you hear about the parties blocking the rescheduling of cannabis.
Yes.
You sigh.
But you find out why, though. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Right. We want to know details. Deets matter.
Steve. All right, Casper, over to you, buddy.
Well, Allison, it has been wonderful to see you again after all this time. As you know,
Yeah,
I haven't been
that's
doing a whole lot since 2017, so I haven't been avoiding you. I've been avoiding the world and taking time for rest, and I've been enjoying that. And it's nice to have you as one of our first guests as we do the reboot for the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. So thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you. I love you, my sweet friend, and always have.
I don't know.
Al Graham, I want to thank you for doing all the legwork, hard work, and technical work to make this show a fabulous presentation. It is because of Al's knowledge and ability and niceness to join us that we are able to have a highly tech program on this highly discussed topic. And I also want to thank Al Bird for being our joint host in-house. Al Bird, you rock. Thank you for being part of the team. We just love you here. And I also want to thank everybody out there who is tuning in. As you know, we are starting again. If you tune in to us on BitChute or on Rumble, you'll see that I put up a foundation of videos that will help introduce you to some of the things that we've done here in the past. And if you like what we're doing, please hit the like and subscribe button and let all your friends know about what we're doing here so that when we get up in the morning and take the world to task, we want to let everybody know how important it is to take time for hemp.
Look at all that money, yeah, the money that they spend. Take another look and spend some time for him. Don't cut trees for paper, cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation, yes, it's time for him. Whoa, an acre of hemp makes 20 bales of oil. No need for pesticides to poison all our soil. People got no food, they got no clothes, they got no rest. Well, Yeah.
Time for Hemp is a Pace Radio Network content provider.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
When you have a pain that's reached its peak, Legacy for 20 is so unique. If organic cannabis is what you seek, here's your trusted partner 7 days a week. Suppository salves, vapes and drops, topicals, edibles, infused pop. Just when life seems like it ain't easy, at Legacy 420 enjoy a pop freezy. Lab tested products make them the GOAT. Legacy 420 out on your road. Legacy 420 in Tyndonega, Mohawk territory. Indigenous organic cannabis at its finest.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adopts to your look first? They have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you succeed, and if you can't make the door, we offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.
You're watching the 420 Pace, found at 420pace.ca.
You're watching the 420 Pace Reroll Saturday.
Coming to us from the marijuana moment, the headline says, cannabis provides significant improvements in pain for fibromyalgia, rheumatoid arthritis, osteoarthritis patients, according to a study. Cannabis products appear to have beneficial effects for people struggling with the symptoms of chronic pain, according to a new study, with the results indicating relief from both intoxicating and non-intoxicating cannabinoids. Now, researchers affiliated with the University of Buffalo, University of Michigan, and the medical school, and more better, recruited 64 people with fibro, 25 with rheumatoid arthritis, and 75 with osteoarthritis of the knee and or hip to participate in the trial. The participants, all of whom were California residents, were randomly assigned to take one of 3 different cannabinoid products via oral capsules over 12 weeks and report their pain, mental health, cognitive function, and physical functioning using a questionnaire. Now, product 1 contained 12.5 milligrams of CBD and 25 milligrams of THC. Product 2 had 10 milligrams of THCA and 10 milligrams of CBDA, 5 milligrams of CBDG, and 3 milligrams of CBC. Product 3 was comprised of 10 milligrams of CBD and 10 milligrams of CBDA. They say there were significant improvement across all symptoms except cognitive function abilities, the paper published in the journal Clinical Therapeutics. It goes on to say that effects range from small to large with most not differing in magnitude across product or type of chronic pain. Participants reported substantial improvements in sleep quality, mental health conditions, and general quality of life, allowing them to engage more fully in daily activities. Isn't that what a lot of us ask for? Now they goes on to say that results suggest that cannabinoid formulations containing THC and cannabinoids other than THC, such as THCA, CBDA, CBC, and CBG, may have positive effects on chronic pain symptoms of various levels, according to the authors. It goes on to say that the 3 separate cannabis capsules that were tested were remarkably similar in their effectiveness.
Doctor said, try this pill. Didn't ask how I really feel.
Sleeping days, shaking nights, lost my taste for real life.
Then a friend wrote truth in a paper. Little backyard old turntable.
Coughed once, heart went calm for the first time. Pain felt small. This is my green light anthem. My lungs, my life, my choice. I chanted, plant in the ground, hands in the sky, healing in the smoke as the days go by. You can call it wrong, you can roll your eyes, but I know what saved me. I don't apologize.
Singing out loud for the ones like me.
Cannabis care, let the people be free. Hey. Grandma hiding drops in her tea. Says it helps her finally breathe. That down the street can sleep. No more ghosts in his dreams.
Still they slap cuffs on a kid for the same thing that helped me live.
How's that fair? How's that right? When the garden could change your life. This is our green light anthem. From the chemo wards to the campus, from the mothers who just want rest to the anxious hearts in that Sunday best. You can pass your laws, we will pass it round till the courthouse hears our sound, singing out loud for the ones in need. Cannabis care, let the people be free. Oh, oh, yeah. Spark one up for the patients waiting. Years go by, still debating while the pills get pushed, prescriptions stacked, but a simple seed gets pushed back. We're not criminals, we're just hurting, fighting for a kind of version of relief, of dignity. Let the plant grow, let us breathe. This is the green light anthem. From the pain ward to the anthems, plant in the ground, hands in the sky, healing in the smoke as the days go by. You can call it wrong, we'll still stand tall till every last charge and the chains all fall, singing out loud for the world to see. Cannabis legal, let the people be free. Let us be, let us be, let us be. Let the people be free.
Ooh, yeah. Ooh, yeah. Brain on shuffle, same song. New spin, coffee gone cold, legs can't sit still again. Little blue notebook full of half-born schemes. Page after page of almost and in my dreams. When my head keeps spinning, I microdose my mind. Tiny little ticket till the room realign. Take a slow, sweet drag, let the static unwind. When my head keeps spinning, I'm mind. To-do list tangle, knots behind my eyes. Future on fast forward, past on endless reprise. So I count my blessings on my fingers, on my toes. And I count my troubles, watch them shrink down to a microdose. When my head keeps spinning, I microdose my mind. Tiny little ticket to the room, realize. Take a slow, sweet drag, let the static unwind. When my head keeps spinning, I microdose my mind. Oh, yeah. Little bit of color in the cracks, that's enough. Little bit of space in my chest for the tough stuff. I'm breathing slow, I breathe out light. Let the small things glow in the big dark night. When my head keeps spinning, I microdose my mind. Tiny little ticket to the road, realign. Take a slow, sweet drag, let the static unwind. When my head keeps spinning, I microdose my mind. When my head keeps spinning, I microdose my mind. Ooh.
Dewdrop ready on the table, sun just peeking through the pines. Wake and bake, mugs in our hands, laughing at the way time slides. My old lake fog on the shoreline, your hoodie smells like last night's smoke. We pass around that little green halo, let the whole day sit there broke. My old lake mornings, high and slow. Hear the loose calling soft and low. Ash in the sand, coffee on your breath. We've got nowhere left. My old lake mornings, hearts on fire, cannabis circling around the fire. If this is all we ever make, I'm okay right here on Mayo Lake. Yeah. Apple bar lit in the distance, somebody's telling the same old tale. We're feeding turtles off the rock face, bare feet hanging, we're loving this place. Pot clanks over the open flame, corn and beans smoke in our clothes, grease on our fingers, grin in your eyes. Everything simple just glows. Mayo Lake mornings, high and slow. Hear the loons calling soft and low. Ash in the sand, coffee on your breath. We got nowhere left. Mayo Lake evenings, flames climb higher, cannabis circling around the fire. If this is all we ever make, I'm okay living in Mayo Lake. Mayo Lake.
smoke in our hair, nothing to lose if this is all we ever make. Swear I'll stay right here on me all day.
You're watching the 420 Pace Reroll Saturday.
Streetcar size on Queen and Dawn. Coffee, steam, old vinyl on. Tie-dye sky in a puddle's frame. Bell rings twice, but it sounds like my name. Spinning on this Queen Street carousel. Slow right through the colors where we fell. Laughing in the rain that never ends. Growing up with galaxies in our hands. Oh yeah. Posters peel on a brick cafe. Burnt out roll spell yesterday. Corner kids trading dreams for change. Every joke soft edged, every face half strange. Spinning on this cold street carousel. Slow right through the colors where we fell. Laughing in the rain that never ends. Growing up with galaxies in our hands. Did we float or did the houses bend? Was that summer or a message we could send? You traced maps on the back of my sleeve. Said this is home if we wanna believe. Skinning on this Queen Street carousel. Slow right through the colors where we fell. Laughing in the rain that never ends. Growing up with galaxies in our heads. Streetcar home. Last light low. Footprints fade where the sidewalks glow. If I close my eyes, I'm there again, riding past the same old stop. My friend.
Cannabis leaf on my lanyard, box of treating yourself by my feet. Fluorescent lights and patio sets, plastic palms, real green. Old man stops, says what you selling, I laugh. Just clearing my haze with treating yourself on the table, changing minds. Cannabis plants at the home and garden show. See pages in your hand, take it home. From roses to medicine, watch it grow. Yeah, we bring the truth where they never thought it would ever go. Cannabis plants in the home and garden show. Cannabis plants in the home and garden show. Pay safe to taste on that brochure. Little links to bigger hope. Beside the grills and garden gnomes, we're talking tinctures, talking smoke. Kids walk by with cotton candy. Mom slow down, dad's leaning close. Is this legal? Is this helpful? Let me tell you what we know. Cannabis plants at the home and garden show. Tea bag into your hand, take it home. From roses to medicine, watch it grow. Yeah, we bring the truth where they never thought it would ever go. Cannabis plants in the home and garden show. Yeah, cannabis plants in the home and garden show. Yeah, yeah.
Bright lights, TY mags on the table. Cannabis plants on display. They ask, can we touch it, can we smell it? Someone chuckles, we tell them how it helps. We're not hiding in the corner, we're right here in the flow. Hand to hand, heart to heart. We're treating yourself magazine at the home and garden show.
Cannabis plants at the home and garden show. Tea by pages in your hand, take it home. From roses to medicine, watch it grow. Yeah, we bring the truth where they never thought it would ever go. Cannabis plants in the home and garden show. Yeah, cannabis plants in the home and garden show. Cannabis plants in the home and garden show. Yeah, cannabis plants in the home and garden show. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, na 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 na. Morning rough, bones talk loud. I rose slow through the crowd. Green breath in a paper crown. Got the weight, but I sit down. Hard week, heavy hands. Pockets full of shifting plans. You say pain don't leave clean, but I know what the roots mean. Let it spin, let it swing. One small spark and the whole room sings. Easy now, take your time. Feel that calm come over mine. Cannabis heals, cannabis heals, 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 heals. Cannabis heals, cannabis heals. Yeah, it cools, it shields. One deep pull, I'm back in my skin. Cannabis heals, let it roll in. Mama said, boy, stay wise. friends lean close, the worries fade. One love glow in the shade. Let it spin, let it swing. One small spark and the whole room sings. Easy now, take your time. Feel that calm come over mine. Cannabis heals, cannabis heals, 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 heals. Cannabis heals, cannabis heals. Yeah, it cools, it shields. One deep pull, I'm back in my skin. Cannabis heals, let it roll in. No rush, no fight, just a slow moon ride tonight. When the world gets wild in me, I find peace in the in between. Cannabis heals, cannabis heals, 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 heals. Cannabis heals, cannabis heals. It cools, it shields. One deep pull, I'm back in my skin. Cannabis heals, let it roll in. Cannabis heals, cannabis heals, 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 heals.
Rerolled. You're watching the 420 Pace, found at 420pace.ca. You've been watching Rerolled Saturdays. Thank you to our guests, our hosts, and our viewers. Up next, Rerolled Saturday Nighttime Edition. It gets started at 4 p.m. See you then.